This moment marks the beginning of an exciting journey, one that will unfold over the next 2 days. It is with immense pride that I stand before you today to announce the 13th edition of Estuary, being organized by the School of Maritime Management, Chennai campus. It offers an exceptional platform for students to engage in both academic and management related activities, serving not only as a learning experience but also as an avenue to showcase their talent. This makes Estuary 25 a significant event in our academic calendar. Our ultimate vision is to ensure that each successive edition of Estuary continues to grow, building upon the success of the previous year, impactful with every new chapter.
On that note, I am honored and delighted to welcome you all to the inaugural ceremony of Estuary 25, which is graced by our eminent chief guest, Sri Neeraj Kumar, International Relations and Legal Affairs, DGCA, and presided over by Dr. Malini V. Shankar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Indian Maritime University. And leading us in hosting this mega event is our campus director, Dr. Rangachari, and our head of SMM, Dr. Swaminathan.
To commence this session with a sense of pride and patriotism, may I request everyone to rise for the national song?
वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे मातरम् सुजलां सुफलां मलयज शीतला सस्यश्यामलां मातरं वन्दे मातरम् शुभ्रज्योत्स्ना पुलकितयामिनी पुल्लकुसुमित द्रुमदलशोभिनी सुहासिनी सुमधुरभाषिणी सुखदां वरदां मातरं वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे मातरम्.
Please be seated, everyone.
The tradition of lamp lighting symbolizes enlightenment, knowledge, and the commencement of a new chapter. As we embark on this exciting journey, let us honor this meaningful ritual by inviting the dignitaries to light the lamp.
Now it is. Thank you, sir. Now, it is my privilege to introduce our beloved Director of the Indian Maritime University, Chennai campus, Rear Admiral Dr. Rangachari PG. It has not been long since he has joined us, but he has quickly taken a place in all our hearts with his enthusiasm and compassion towards the student fraternity, be it academics or sports. He has constantly served as a mentor and advisor to each one of us, offering steadfast support and dedication to our campus community. I would now like to invite him to extend a formal welcome to this esteemed assembly of guests. Sir, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all the dignitaries present here and the chief guest on the dais, faculty members and students. The Estuary 2025 is an important annual event that provides a forum to learn from eminent people directly involved in the maritime and related domains. It provides a very good opportunity to the students to organize this event as a team in the campus, display camaraderie, and hone their leadership skills before they step out to the real world. This year, the topic chosen for the symposium is air cargo transportation, a crucial pillar of India's economy. Whilst it offers significant advantages, it also brings its own unique challenges. It differs from the maritime shipping in terms of modalities of trade, value, and volume. The power of air cargo is to bridge the gap between the demand and supply. Undoubtedly, air cargo transportation is a quintessential element for global economic growth. Knowing more about it and juxtaposing it with the techniques adopted in maritime logistics and transportation would be extremely beneficial to us, and hence this topic became the theme for Estuary 2025. It's now my pleasant duty to extend a very warm welcome to our chief guest for the inaugural function, Sri Neeraj Kumar, who is the Director, International Regulations and Legal Affairs at the Directorate General of Civil Aviation at New Delhi. I'm very happy and thankful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Malini V. Shankar, for kindly consenting to deliver the presidential address today. I must hasten up to add that due to an urgent official parliamentary meeting at Delhi today, she is unable to attend Estuary 2025. However, she has recorded her presidential address and we will be playing it shortly. Mr. Jayaraman Krishnan, partner in Atesa Iyer Logistics LLP, Chennai, the third generation logistics operator, has always played a proactive and a supportive role at the School of Maritime Management, Chennai campus. He identified a cross-section of resource persons for the panel discussion on air cargo management, including the chief guests for the 2 days of Estuary 2025. He was instrumental in finalizing the theme for this year's Estuary, and we are very grateful to him. He has been rendering support year after year for this event in as many ways as he possibly could, and his invaluable contributions are gratefully acknowledged. All of us are delighted to welcome him. I am confident that the 2-day program will enrich us in more ways than one and enable us to not only appreciate the nuances involved in air cargo management, but also apply some of these learnings in the maritime domain. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Next, it's now time to honor and felicitate our dignitaries on the dais. May I request the director of our campus of Indian Maritime University to felicitate the chief guest, Sri Neeraj Kumar, who has joined us all the way from New Delhi. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to invite Dr. B. Swaminathan, Head, School of Maritime Management, to felicitate our campus director, Dr. P.J. Rangachari.
Thank you, sir. Now, with due permission from the dignitaries on and off the dais, may I now take the privilege to make a special announcement. This is a tribute to someone who has consistently been a source of support and encouragement to all of us and has served tirelessly as the backbone of SMM. This learned person has led the flagship event of Estuary right from its first version from 2013 to our present day Estuary 2025 with utmost dedication. Audience, can you guess who I'm talking about? Come on, guys, take a guess. Yes, that's absolutely right. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Dr. B. Swaminathan, Head SMM, who we wish to honor with a special felicitation. On behalf of the students, faculty and alumni of SMM, may I request our campus director to kindly felicitate Swami sir. I also request all the SMM faculty to please join us on stage. Sir, please.
He deserves it. He's been the backbone of the SMM. He rendered yeoman service to the management. And we are going to miss him very badly.
Thank you, sir. That was a priceless moment. Thank you, everybody.
I would really like to add something here. This was planned, and I really take permission from all of you that we did not include this in the agenda. But I think there is no other better moment than today to honor a person who has been here for more than 35 years and has been there right from the first version of Estuary. So we are going to miss you, sir, next year. Thank you so much.
Now, moving ahead. It is my privilege to introduce to this esteemed gathering a brilliant leader who has proved her mettle in many a male bastion with her exceptional leadership. A career bureaucrat belonging to the 1984 Indian Administrative Services batch, Dr. Malini V. Shankar has had an illustrious career spanning over 3.5 decades. Her last assignment was to serve as the Director General of Shipping in the rank of Secretary to the Government of India. But due to a sudden assignment to Delhi, VC ma'am is unable to join us today, but she has gracefully agreed to deliver a virtual presidential address. May I now request the technical team to display it.
At the outset, I would like to express my felicitations to the School of Maritime Management of the Indian Maritime University for organizing the Estuary Conference every year. It's an invaluable forum for students to delve into the subject connect with each other and with the industry. The event also serves to hone the intellectual and managerial capability of the participants in a joyful yet competitive environment. Much as I would have liked to be present in person amidst you, there are other things that have come my way and I have to go to Delhi for a meeting in the Parliament. I'm also glad that the organizing committee has chosen to invite an officer of the Directorate General of Civil Aviation to add to the perspective of the management students who are generally more focused on the land and on the seas. The recent churning in geopolitics have introduced air transport as an essential, viable means of transporting goods across nations. My earliest knowledge of air transport as a student was a news item in the Hindu with a fascinating picture of a huge Boeing aircraft carrying a plane load full of jasmine flowers and kanakambarams from Madurai to the Middle East every day. Now, air transport is among the fastest growing modes of transportation globally, driven by rising economic growth, increased urbanization, globalization of business operations, and growing middle class populations, especially in emerging markets. The expansion of low cost carriers and improvements in aircraft technology have also made air travel more accessible and efficient. Air cargo encompasses a variety of transportation methods, including air freight, air mail, and express delivery services. It is not just about flying the goods. It involves a complex network of companies and organizations that include airlines, logistic firms, and regulatory bodies, among others. Air cargo accounts for around 35% of global trade by value, even though it handles less than 1% of the trade by volume. It primarily moves high-value, time-sensitive goods like electronics, pharmaceuticals, and luxury products. While earlier estimates valued air cargo shipments at $6 trillion, recent figures from the IATA indicate that by 2025, this number will exceed $8 trillion. The Government of India in recent times has laid extraordinary emphasis on the cost and efficiency of logistics operations. In the context of this edition of Estuary, I would like to highlight a few initiatives and policy pointers. Number 1, policy of India to emerge as a major transshipment hub. The Government of India aims to position the country as a major transshipment hub, leveraging its strategic geographical location to enhance its connectivity and competitiveness in global trade. This involves upgrading infrastructure, streamlining customs processes, and improving connectivity. Delhi is a major air transport hub due to its geographic and political significance. But ports like Cochin and Chennai are more traditionally focused on maritime and air maritime transshipment activities. Enhancing Delhi's air cargo facilities could be part of a broader strategy to improve internal logistic networks, making them more efficient for transporting goods and from transshipment ports. Number 2, facilitating a policy push for repair and maintenance services for aircraft, or in other words, the MRO. The Government of India is driving policies to develop India as a hub for maintenance, repair and overhaul, or MRO operations, to reduce costs and dependency on foreign MRO services. These policies include rationalizing the tax regime to make it competitive against neighboring MRO services such as those in Sri Lanka or the UAE, and improving ease of doing business, investing in training and upskilling to create a skilled workforce that can engage themselves in MRO activities. Point number 3 is creating parts bank for aircrafts by Boeing and Airbus. These major manufacturers are establishing a parts bank in Hyderabad to support the MRO sector. This bank aims to reduce the downtime of aircraft awaiting maintenance by locally ensuring the availability of necessary parts, thus streamlining operations and reducing airline costs. This move is supported by government policies that attract investment from major aviation players through incentives like tax breaks and infrastructure support. A last point which is relevant in this context is the policy of making every district of India identifying and marketing one export product and its connected role in air freight. This initiative aims to promote regional specialities and craftsmanship on a global scale. Air freight plays a crucial role in this context by providing a rapid, reliable mode of transport for perishable goods or high-value items, thus connecting the SMEs or the small and medium enterprises to international markets and helping them compete on a global platform. The rise of e-commerce and quick commerce has transformed consumer expectations for faster delivery services, directly impacting the air cargo industry. The need for rapid order fulfillment drives investment in logistics infrastructure, advanced technology for supply chain. The export one particular case I remember, the rose exporter saw they are reefer vehicles. They were transported from the farm by reefer vehicles and put into a reefer vehicle or a reefer container in the aircraft. But the container, when it changed flights in an airport outside India, it was kept outside at 30 degrees, and that was the end of that export. So these are sensitivities that the professionals dealing with the supply chain using air freight have to be very conscious of. Today's discussion will provide a crucial platform to explore the synergies between the air cargo and maritime sectors, particularly in the context of integrated logistics strategies. As India positions itself as a global hub for transshipment and MRO services, aligning air cargo operations with maritime activities, it becomes imperative to optimize supply chain efficiencies and enhance multimodal transport networks. By leveraging advancements in air freight, such as quicker transshipment times and specialized cargo handling, alongside the vast capacity and economic efficiency of maritime transport, stakeholders can significantly improve logistical throughput and connectivity. The seminar will foster discussions that drive policy alignment, technological integration, and operational collaborations between these vital sectors, enhancing India's stature in the global logistics and transportation landscape. I urge all the students and the participants to take benefit from the discussions by experts and by panel discussions. And I wish today's event all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for virtually gracing us with your presence on this special occasion. We always look up to you for your support and guidance in all our endeavors.
Now, it is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce our esteemed chief guest of this event, Shri Neeraj Kumar, Director, International Relations and Legal Affairs, DGCA. Shri Neeraj Kumar is a key figure in aviation safety and international aviation relations, having served as the Director of Information and Regulations and the Chief Inspector of Dangerous Goods, he played a pivotal role in shaping and enforcing safety protocols while transporting hazardous materials. This involved the meticulous oversight of rules and practices that ensured the safe handling and transportation of dangerous goods across aviation networks, an area of critical importance for national and international flight safety.
In his current role as the Director of International Relations and Legal Affairs at the DGCA, Mr. Kumar is placed at the forefront of managing India's engagements with international aviation entities, navigating complex legal landscapes, and ensuring compliance with international aviation rules. The capacity in which he operates highlights his leadership roles in integrating safety, legal, and operating policies of India's aviation sector worldwide.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a warm and hearty welcome to Sri Neeraj Kumar as I ask him to deliver the inaugural address. Thank you, sir.
Good morning to all industry stalwart and dignitaries and faculties at dais and all dear students. I would not say students, they are the next generation who is going to take the lead and take and give the shape of the industry. And first of all, it's my honor and pleasure to be here among you people, and especially the persons who are the alumni as well as the torch bearer of the industry, that is logistic along with the air cargo. As our esteemed VC, Dr. Malini ji, has already described in detail the role of air cargo and the freighter services. And the policies are being considered by the Government of India at this moment to develop that area, considering and full of thought thinking the requirement of the expeditious or speedy transportation to become the leader in the world level as India as an exporter or the logistic things. With this, as that particular dear student or the next generation leader has told and briefed about me, I am right now dealing with the ISCO, whatever bilateral agreements being done by the India with other countries. With respect to operations of foreign carriers as well as Indian carriers too from India. An important aspect is related to carriage of hazardous material. When we talk about any movement of the shipment, or you can say any consignment particularly, or in day-to-day life, any item, we are carrying knowingly, unknowingly, there may be certain goods which may pose risk to the person, property, or even to the environment. And critical aspect is that when we are carrying, we may apparently knowing the item's risk about the person, in what manner it can harm. But at most of the times, we cannot visualize how or in what manner it can harm the environment. That is ultimately affecting not only a particular person or the property, but a society as a whole. And that's why regulations comes into the picture. And regulation is not the breakers. Those are not for the, that is a perceptions, maybe the perception that those are the road blocker. No. There is a simple thing to say why the persons who stops you to do certain things, actually they are contributing in your progress or they are stopping you. That is a perception, two-side perception. Apparent perception is they are blocking. but actually not. They are actually ensuring your high speed or your speedy growth. Whenever you are running with the speed or running a vehicle with the speed, in case there is no brake, then you will not be confident you will reach up to that particular height. But when you know there is a brake, that gives the confidence, now I can achieve that particular speed. And when we see what the air cargo freighter does, that is the mode of transportation and a critical role and critical link in the all over logistic chain. As on today, time is the most important factor. Second is the quality. Quality, even when we are manufacturing a certain thing in a particular house, we are ensuring every type of quality management. But it may be affected through the transportation. There are the various factors. When we talk about the factors in shipment or by sea, we see there are the other factors, moisture, reactions, vibration, temperature also there. When we talk about the movement from air, there are the three critical factors. One is the vibration, second is the pressure, and third is the temperature. Because I think all persons we belong from the community of the science, we can easily understand how these factors play roles. Now the question comes, how we are going to ensure the transportation is safe. That is only by the means we are going to adopt how that particular consignment can safely be transported, saving or keeping that one safe from these external factors as it is in the same shape, same content when it was manufactured. That is one. Second, how fast we are delivering it to its destination. That is the main aspect, and that is the need of requirement, as Madam told. We have to think and choose the right mode of transport. And there is a particular term when we use in the civil aviation, that is the intermodal transportation. Any item, any consignment, in case we are able to align all type of movement or transportation or to move a consignment, that may be by road, by railway, by air and sea, that will is the maximum utilization of the resources. Not only maximum, but that is the maximum valuable, or you can say potential utilization of the resources. That is one. And when we talk about that transportation of dangerous goods, ultimately I am coming to the need what we are learning here. That is the gray, or you can say important area, whatever you people are learning here, and what you have to understand about the safe transportation. That is training. There is another difference between training and education. Right now, you may be getting the education up to that certain level. But when we talk about the training, there are the three aspects: knowledge, skill, and competency, and the attitude. Knowledge you have, but we have to have developed the skill to deal with that one. That particular gap is being filled by the training. And in that area, either that may be the logistic or carriage of safe transportation through any mode, any hazardous item, we have to get the skills or develop the skills in that particular area. Unless until we do not have the skill, there are the chances to result in another things. That, and one more aspect when we talk about the transportation by air. then regulation. Then I think I am audible in case it doesn't work. Then when we talk about the regulations, in air transportation, the ultimately because India is the member of International Civil Aviation Organization. Not audible.
Hello. Hello.
Up to you.
Check.
Okay. When we talk about the regulations and yeah. Then when we talk about the regulations flows because when we there is a thought in the mind about the air transportation. Ultimately, being from the nature of the transportation, there is a thing cross borders because there are the territories which are not so wide as India. But when we talk about at international level, there are the things that generally gives an idea of cross-border transportation. And to have a harmonized structure and ensure the safe, there are the international organizations, similarly International Maritime Organization, IMO, there is a International Civil Aviation Organization which considers all those aspects and provide the guidance to the nations to adopt and first analyze and adopt as per their requirement and the environment available. Similarly, for carriage of hazardous items, there are the guidelines given by the ICAO in terms of Annex 18 as well as the technical instructions for safe transportation of goods. Those guidelines are based on the UN model and these are needs to be meticulously uh, complied with, and to comply with that requirement India has made also relevant regulations. That is overall I am little bit referring the regulation part. Only thing I want to highlight, these regulations, why we require to follow or why we are strict in compliance. The only reason is that that is the only mode of transportation where we are in air, there is no other way to escape. And there is no chance because when we say in case you run fast, then you have the risk also. There should be a perfect balance between risk and your speed of the transportation or anything else. To stuck that particular balance, that's why these regulations are strictly adhered to. And not only that affect or make the compliance of the regulations, that build the confidence. As on date, when we talk about what is the safest mode of transportation, generally that is the air. And we are continuously maintaining that. The reason behind it, we are ensuring compliance. And whenever we think about why and where and how and who, that is the entities who are involved in the whole chain. And so far as development of air cargo is concerned, one side we are thinking to minimize the time at the airports in the transportation of the goods. And in the last 5-6 years, that timelines have been reduced at a very high level also. I cannot say it is achieved at the maximum point, but definitely it requires further progress. For that, whole supply chain needs to be engaged and think over how they can more become efficient. And efficient word may not be the appropriate, but more become reliable and give the confidence in the supply chain entities. And logistic is a wide word. We cannot say it is a single word dealing with an area. And it is again, all of the persons sitting here, when we talk about the logistic covers every type of mode of transportation. And you are the key persons to decide and to advise and to take decision which is the most way of transportation and which is the most economical and favorable to the entities. Because ultimately game is the supply and demand. How supply is being done? Although we are seeing that words appearing as the general word, but they has the deep meaning. And here, I just at the last want to compare your that estuary 25. What is the actual meaning? Everybody may be knowing. But estuary is everywhere at every stop in our life. But only thing
Thank you, sir. Thank you, team. As we draw this momentous ceremony to a close, we would like to express our sincere appreciation to everyone who is involved in this event. To deliver a formal vote of thanks, I would like to invite Dr. B. Swaminathan, Head, School of Maritime Management.
I am assigned to give vote of thanks. Before that, I feel a deep sense of fulfillment after receiving the shield from the School of Maritime Management faculty members. The amount of affection, love they show it to me when I hold the position of head of the department as faculty, really immense. I am really blessed to have such an excellent faculty. I pray the Almighty for their future endeavor. In fact, today is a mark of important milestone in my career, and I never expected this type of affection and love to me as a person. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and all the faculty members and the staff members and the student community. So, good morning, everyone. The chief guest of the day, respected Neeraj Kumarji, Director, International Regulation and Legal Affairs, Director General of Civil Aviation. Rear Admiral Dr. R.J. Rangachari, P.J. Rangachari, Director, Indian Maritime University, Chennai campus, faculty colleagues, officers, staff, the visiting faculty members, and my dear students across the campuses. At the outset, I express my deepest gratitude to our chief guest, Sri Neeraj Kumar, Director, International Regulation and Legal Affairs, Director General of Civil Aviation, New Delhi, who has come all the way from Delhi for gracing this occasion and presents the inspiring inaugural address, focused more on the regulatory aspect of it. Sir, your words undoubtedly set a profound tone for the upcoming symposium on air cargo management. Thank you very much, sir. We sincerely thank Dr. Malini Shankar, Vice Chancellor of Indian Maritime University, for her virtual, thought-provoking presidential address on air cargo management. Under her leadership and vision, the faculty members across the campuses at IMU have consistently been guided towards excellence in all the initiatives taken by the faculty members in the recent years. I would like to extend my gratitude to Rear Admiral Dr. Rangachari, the Director of Indian Maritime University Chennai campus, for his warmth, welcome address and unwavering support for the School of Maritime Management and all stages to make the program successful. I sincerely thank the keynote speakers, Mrs. Tulsi Mirchandani, a former Managing Director of Blue Dart, welcoming you, and also I thank you, Madam. And Mr. J. Krishnan, the partner, Nadesh Ayer Logistics, the moderator of today's panel discussion at the symposium. We also eagerly anticipate valuable perspectives and expertise of our panelists, Mr. Keku Bhumi Kastar, Managing Director and CEO of Avio Pro Logistics, New Delhi. He has come all the way from New Delhi to deliver. And Mr. P. Balasubramanian, former CEO of ACCS, that Air Cargo Consultancy International Services. Mr. Rahul Nandi, General Manager of Airport Authority in Chennai. And Mrs. Chaitali Mehta, Director of a logistics company Mumbai, whose insights will greatly enhance our understanding on air cargo management and supply chain management. Thank you for all for being part of this enlightening event. A big thank for the organizing team, my SMM faculty colleagues, staff, student volunteers under the guidance of Dr. Emil Matthew, who is the convener of this event, whose dedication and hard work behind the scenes have been the backbone of this event. Of course, I thank DR Administration, Head of the Nautical Science and SMET, and the faculty, the media partner, Exim India, and my friend, Dr. Ennarasu Karunesan, former CEO of Adani Group of Companies, who has been instrumental for various events right from the beginning, right from the establishment of Indian Maritime University from 2009 onwards. The amount of support he extended to the student community is immense. We are really blessed to have you as a person attending these sessions. I thank you all. Let us look forward to the enriching and engaging today session. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, now I request all of you to please rise up for the national anthem.
With this, the inaugural session has come to an end. The technical session of the National Symposium will commence shortly with the theme Air Cargo Transportation, a Crucial Pillar of India's Economy. We request the audience to kindly rejoin us after a short 20-minute break. Thank you, everyone.
Check, check, check. Check, check.
Mic check. Hello. Mic check. One, two, three. Okay.
Ask the students to kindly be seated.
I request the audience to please remain seated as the technical session will commence shortly. I repeat, I request the audience to kindly remain seated as the technical session will begin shortly. Please don't forget to put your phones on silent.
Who is starting? Start. They'll join students. Please start.
Please be seated, everyone. Once again, a very good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of the organizing committee of Estuary 25, I, Ajit, along with my co-host Shruti, take the privilege of welcoming you all to this specially organized national symposium. Today's technical session is centered around the theme air cargo transportation, a crucial pillar of India's economy. Air cargo is often described as the fastest lifeline of global trade, facilitating swift and efficient movement of goods across the borders. It is an invisible force that keeps the supply chains intact, ensuring that perishable goods, life-saving medicines, and high-value commodities reach their destination without delay. As the famous quote goes, time is money. And in today's fast-paced world of logistics, air cargo is the engine that propels business ahead in the race against time.
Before we move forward with our technical session, it is an honor to welcome a distinguished speaker who will set the stage for today's discussions. With great pleasure, we invite Ms. Tulsi Mirchandani to kindly come up to the dais. Now, allow me to introduce her. Tulsi Navlakha Mirchandani, former managing director of Blue Dart Aviation, has been instrumental in expanding the company's capacity and developing critical infrastructure during her remarkable 28-year tenure. A visionary leader with over 5 decades of experience in aviation, she has played a pivotal role in shaping industry policies to supporting the sustainability of the cargo airline sector. She has co-chaired the CII National Committees on Civil Aviation and Logistics and has served on the Governing Council of Birla Institute of Technology, School of Management, and the board of Blue Dart Express. An MBA graduate in International Aviation from Concordia University, Canada, Ms. Mirchandani has been recognized by the Ministry of Civil Aviation and FICCI for her outstanding contributions to the industry. Ma'am, we are truly honored to have you with us today. May I now invite our Director, Rear Admiral Dr. Rangachari, to kindly felicitate our keynote speaker. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a warm welcome to Ms. Tulsi Mirchandani, who will now deliver the keynote address.
Director Dr. Rangachari, Chief Guest Mr. Kumar, Dr. Swaminathan, Mr. Krishnan, or should I say Professor Krishnan, my distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to you. It's a great pleasure to be here, and I would like to thank Dr. Swaminathan for having invited me and for giving me the opportunity to engage with our smart and talented young minds. I have been forewarned, though, by one of my colleagues that there's a likelihood that you would be playing with your mobile phones, and that would be a signal that what I have to say is no longer relevant. So I'll try and make this short and hopefully give you food for thought enough to keep your phones in your pockets. So the first question I have for you is, do you have the passion to be in this business? Because I can tell you that when times are tough and in the environment in which we operate, tough is the norm. Passion is going to be your prime motivator. I'm probably not the exemplary person to be standing here making this address because I dropped out of college to join the aviation industry. And it was basically to fund my future education. And it wasn't even in the glamorous passenger segment, which was elitist and very attractive at the time, that I entered. I entered in the entrails of the aircraft, at the back end, in the cargo segment, with the boys. There were no girls with me at that time. But as my colleagues would agree, that once you are associated with aviation, you're hooked. And I was unwittingly caught in the net. I guess it's the sheer magic of working with those miracle machines that defy gravity on a daily basis that develops into an abiding passion. I'm sure you are here as well because of the call of the sea, and many a poem has been written about that. But there are going to be some unpredictable road bumps on the head. You would have an economic downturn, regulatory compliance that perhaps would throw all your costs awry. But I have seen my team, whenever presented with such challenges, that they would rise to the occasion each time and come up with solutions that would make our company stronger. And the solutions didn't always come from leadership or from top management, but from people down the line who were in touch with the reality of the business and who just enjoyed what they do. I'm not fond of cliches, but I do agree that if you love what you do, you become a natural problem solver. But passion was not the sole driver of my singular focus on aviation for 53 years. And now you know my age. I think as many of you who would be embarking on your careers, the questions that you have before you would be the same that I did at that time. And that is my career option in logistics or aviation going to be sustainable? Is it going to provide me with the impetus for my development and growth to earn a modest living? And I wasn't disappointed. Exports at that time when I started out were pretty basic, some of which don't even exist today. We had mica from Bihar, carpets from Varanasi, opium, unfinished leather, gramophone records, manhole covers, and human skeletons, many human skeletons amongst others. And you must remember that during that time, we didn't even have calculators, leave alone computers. And our medium of communication was the humble teleprinter. And yet we could connect shipments at international airports within 1 hour into wide-body aircraft. And that seems pretty amazing, even for today. India was amongst the top 20 cargo exporting countries in the world from about 1970 to 1990. And we saw products grow into finished goods. We saw increased demand, a cargo boom, and freighter operations at various airports. They were exciting times. But you don't get to grow by repeating your actions of the past, because others are going to catch up and find new ways to streak ahead. And amidst all this, there was a quiet revolution that was brewing under the radar. And that was the emergence of Air Express, which your Honorable Vice Chancellor was mentioning in her address as well. Air Express is basically an integration of all the processes for a single service to provide time-definite, door-to-door deliveries. You would know it more familiarly as the courier segment, or today you know that e-commerce is very much a part of it. It started out as a very small segment in the late 1960s and the early 1970s, but in 3 decades grew to capture over 50% of the market share in the USA as well as in Europe. It's dominated by 3 major players who between them operate over 80% of the freighters globally. In India, the company I used to work for, Blue Dart, started out as an Air Express company in 1983 with a small corpus of 30,000 rupees. The founders, and all credit to them, pioneered domestic dedicated freighter operations with a small fleet of vintage Boeing 737-200 freighters. Today, they are the longest serving private airline in the country with a fleet of 8 aircraft. And I'm often asked the logic and the viability of operating large aircraft to carry small packages. And I always remind the people who ask me those questions that airmail was actually the precursor of commercial aviation, not just in the US, but also in India. In 1911, the first commercial aviation flight operated between Allahabad and Naini, a distance of just 6 miles, carrying 6,500 packages. And in 1949, the night airmail service was already in operation, connecting the 4 metros of Calcutta, Delhi, Bombay, and Madras, as they were then known, into the hub at Nagpur and back. Today, Air Express is estimated, as per the 2020 estimates, the research estimates, to be about a $273 billion business. So to the question of whether it is a sustainable career option, my response would be a resounding yes. There is ample opportunity in research and development, in innovation and growth, in areas of operations, engineering, packaging, and management, amongst others. And now to, of course, the final question that tends to plague all of us, especially as we grow older and we tick off all the boxes of our aspirations and our achievements. was it really worth our while? Was it worth those long hours away from our family and homes? Was there a sense of purpose in what we do in this industry? And as the Honorable Vice Chancellor mentioned, we are the lifeline of trade and commerce, of critical supply chains and assembly lines, and we make companies profitable, make them competitive by trying to meet demand with supply. But nowhere was the importance and the purpose of logistics more clearly defined than during COVID. And not at any time have I seen a greater example of government coordination, management, and execution than I saw during that time. And my colleague Keiko was very much a part of that process, the morning ritual, which connected across countries all the players to determine what were the emergency supplies that we could bring to our citizens in this country to save lives. At 9 a.m. every single morning, a weekday, a weekend, sunshine, rain, or cyclone, we were in operations mode through the day and every single day. When the world shut down, we moved. There was no work from home. So never, ever, ever doubt the importance of the purpose of logistics and what you would do. Because when the chips are down, during earthquakes, during the tsunami, during a disaster, during an epidemic, we bring hope. We save lives. And I would like to close with a final thought, which I think the Honorable Vice Chancellor also touched upon. Can you push the boundaries of logistics to a level to elevate our country worthy of its stature, of its capability, and of its strategic position? Despite India's economic prowess, our neighbors Hong Kong, Singapore, Dubai have stolen a march over us, and they've established vibrant hubs that have become so successful. And the interesting thing is how they have coordinated all forms of transportation and tourism to create a formidable and successful set of services for the movement of people and goods. And I'd like you to consider what we have in just one state. And there are examples all across the country, but I shall confine myself to Tamil Nadu. We have seaports, we have airports, we have the manufacturing strength and capability, the industry clusters, auto, textiles, electronics, manufacture of tires. We are the #1 domestic and international tourist destination in the country, and I could go on. And most importantly, the availability of qualified and skilled manpower. Dubai and Singapore do not have India's manufacturing capability, nor do they have the domestic scale to absorb, or the scale of consumption to absorb the output. India is perhaps one of the few countries in the world that has the entire spectrum of logistics leverage, whether it is for manufacturing for domestic distribution, manufacturing for exports, for imports for domestic consumption, or value addition for re-exports. And therefore, can you aggregate all these modes of transportation to put India on the map as an outstanding, vibrant global hub? One of my favorite icons is Dr. Kurian Varghese. In my mind, he was perhaps India's finest aggregator and most successful one. Amul started in 1946 with a milk production of just 240 liters a day. And he transformed it into a cooperative of 3.6 million farmers who produced 35 million liters of day of milk, making India the second largest milk producing country in the world. Can you do an Amul for logistics? Nelson Mandela said, "It's impossible till it's done." But my favorite quote is from my boss, and I have it on my desk to remind me of it every day. And he said, "Impossible is not a fact, it is an opinion." I wish you an exciting and a purposeful future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your valuable insight and setting the tone for today's discussions. May I have a big round of applause for Ms. Tulsi Mirchandani. So before we begin the panel discussion, we would like to take this opportunity to felicitate our media partner, Exim India. May I now call upon Sri Kanagaraj, Regional Head, and Sri Jayachandran, Marketing Manager, to kindly come upon the stage. I also request Head of SMM, Dr. B. Swaminathan, to come up on the stage to felicitate them. Thank you, sir. Now, allow me to introduce you to the moderator of today's technical session, Mr. Jayaraman Krishnan, partner at Nadesha IR Logistics LLP. Mr. Krishnan is a seasoned logistics professional and third-generation leader at S. Nadesha IR Logistics LLP. He joined S. Nadesha IR Logistics LLP in 1981. With over 4 decades of experience, he has held prominent positions, including that of former president at Air Cargo Agents Association of India, trustee of Chennai Port, and member of the advisory committee at Ennore Port. He currently serves on the General Committee of the Madras Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as a board advisor for the Air Cargo Agents Association of India, and also as a member of the Government Advisory Committees on Customs and Cargo Facilitation at Chennai Port. His contribution also extends to academia. He also teaches at the University of Madras and also at our very own Indian Maritime University. I must mention that Mr. Jayaraman has been the main architect behind this year's technical session, right from curating the theme to identifying the right panel of eminent speakers. The team of School of Maritime Management is indebted to you, sir, for your invaluable contribution. May I now call upon Dr. Swaminathan, Head SMM, to kindly felicitate Mr. Jayaraman Krishnan, who will be the moderator for today's panel discussion.
Thank you, sir. Now, without further ado, it is my honor to introduce our esteemed panel members. To begin with, may I invite our first speaker, Mr. Keku Bomi Gasder, to take his place on the dais? Sir, please. Allow me to introduce Mr. Gasder. Mr. Gasder, Managing Director and CEO of Aviapro Logistics Service Private Limited, brings over 35 years of rich experience in the cargo industry, spanning the Levant, Middle East, Arabian Gulf, and the Indian subcontinent. He has held key leadership roles, including Regional Director for Saudi Arabian Airlines, Kenya Airways Cargo, and Martinair Cargo. During his tenure as CEO of Airport Authority of India, Cargo Logistics and Allied Services, he spearheaded initiatives like Lifeline Udan and Krishi Udan, significantly impacting the industry. Recognized with precious accolades like Logistics Visionary of the Year and CEO of the Year, he also plays a vital role in various civil aviation committees and serves as an advisory board member for aviation startups. Thank you so much, sir, for being here with us today. May I now invite our faculty, Dr. Shekhar, to felicitate Mr. Gasder? Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
It is now my privilege to call up to the dais and introduce our second distinguished speaker, Mr. Rahul Nandi. Mr. Rahul Nandi, a distinguished aviation veteran with over 29 years of expertise, has made significant contribution to India's cargo and aviation's logistics landscape. Holding a BTech in aeronautical engineering, he has excelled in various leadership roles across key airports, including Chennai, Kolkata, and Guwahati. He is currently serving as General Manager Cargo, I-Class at Chennai Airport. Mr. Nandi oversees critical cargo operations, regulatory compliance, and efficiency initiatives. His extensive experience in airport operations, cargo handling, and aviation management, coupled with a background in the airline sector, positions him as a pivotal industry leader. We are honored to have you today with us, sir. May I now call upon our faculty of SMM, Dr. Lekha Ravi, to felicitate our guest speaker.
Thank you, ma'am. Our third esteemed speaker for this session is Mr. P. Balasubramanian, a highly respected authority in aviation logistics. Sir, may I please invite you to the dais? Widely known as Bala, Mr. Balasubramanian is a distinguished aviation expert with 47 years of global experience. He is the founder and CEO of Air Cargo Consultancy International Services, ACCIS, and has made significant contributions to IATA, serving as the vice chairman of Dangerous Goods Board, co-authoring key IATA manuals and pioneering our air cargo safety initiatives. His expertise extends to his role as an advisor to the ICAO and the UAE, as well as his contributions to India's aviation education and policy. Over the years, he has led high-profile cargo terminal projects and audits for major global entities, including Emirates, Air India, and GMR, cementing his reputation as a visionary in the air cargo and aviation safety. Sir, we sincerely appreciate your presence here with us today. May I now invite our faculty, Dr. Emil Matthew, to kindly felicitate our esteemed guest.
Last but not the least, we are privileged to welcome Ms. Chaitali Mehta, a distinguished leader in the aviation and logistics sector. Ma'am, may I kindly invite you to the stage? Ms. Chaitali Mehta, Director at EKF Global Logistics Private Limited, is a trailblazer with 28 years of expertise in the industry. A third generation's custom broker and a second generation's freight forwarder. She leads one of India's largest aviation logistics vertical. A strong advocate for gender inclusivity, she has been recognized with prestigious accolades, including the Prime Minister's 75th Azadi Ka Mahotsav Award, the India Cargo Awards, and several leadership honors. As a TEDx speaker and a global thought leader, she is deeply committed to empowering women in logistics, driving skill development, diversity, and industry innovation, and shaping the future of this sector. Ma'am, we are truly honored to have you here today. May now invite our faculty, Mr. Kola Nagendra, to felicitate our esteemed guest speaker.
Thank you, sir. I now invite Mr. Jayaraman Krishnan, the moderator, to kindly introduce the theme for today's panel discussion.
Vanakkam. A very good morning to all of you. I wish to start today's session by looking back into some very ancient, for many of you it could be stories or legends or whatever it is. One is from the Western civilization and one is from the Indian civilization. How many of you all know the word Icarus? Those who have seen James Bond movies may remember, but I'm talking of the legend of Icarus. And particularly I'm using Icarus because I see Mr. Neeraj Kumar in front of me. He was a gentleman who fixed wings on his back using wax in his quest to reach the sun. He flew up and up, but unfortunately halfway through, the sun melted the wax and he had a rather fatal dissent. Adherence to regulations. The attempt was there, but the attempt did not bear success because he did not adhere to regulations of air safety. But the more interesting is the Indian legend, Bajrang Bali, Hanuman. He is the first pioneer of aviation when he carried the Sanjeevi mountain to Sri Lanka to save a life. Tulsi, you mentioned about it. He was a air express service preceded air cargo transportation. Again, sir, compliance to regulation was at fault because part of the mountains fell at different parts of India. Stowage was not proper. Lashing was not proper. So, it is compliance that though he did succeed, but it came at a cost. So I wish to start with these two thoughts of two legends, two stories to set the tone for today's meeting. Because we are going to talk of air cargo being the catalyst for India of the future, and to be a catalyst, it is not only performance but also compliance that plays a very key role. Let's not forget that. It is precisely for this I brought in these two stories. Those of you who do not know the story of Icarus, go back to Google and read it. It's interesting, not a very long thing. A lot of wise words have been spoken before me. So, my attempt is going to be very simple, just to prod the very wise people around me to bring out the uniqueness of the sector that particularly we have chosen carefully people who create the infrastructure, people who advise how policies are made, a logistician who serves all of us, and last but not the least, the actual transporter, the airline. So this has been the choice. You have these four people sitting ahead of you. The format today is, I will be giving 5 minutes to each of them to make their opening remarks, and then we start celebrating Holi. My first speaker would be none other than the people who takes us to places, Mr. K. Kubomigasta.
Thank you, Professor Krishnan. I think I have to start remembering calling you Professor from onwards rather than Krishnan, sir. Thank you for having me over. This is probably the first time I'm in a maritime university talking of air cargo. So to the organizers of IMU, fantastic initiative, and my compliments for opening the air cargo to students in a maritime facility. I hope over the next 2 hours probably you would get some insights on what this part of the world is. Let's do a quick question answer. How many of you know where the world's largest shopping mall is? Dubai. Anybody else? Sorry? Go ahead, quick. I've got only 5 minutes and this man has a buzzer on this phone. He will stop me. Dubai. Do you know where the world's largest shopping mall is? Sorry? Here. This is the world's biggest shopping mall. It will continue to be the world's biggest shopping mall for some time. After which, it will become here. Then it will become here. And probably the next 10 years it will be here. With Neuralink coming up, before you think about something, you're going to have it with you. Now, the reason I brought this to start with is to ignite something in you with regards to what air cargo is. We are, as a lot of these eminent speakers I mentioned earlier, we are their lifeline at many times. We also are the people who make things happen yesterday. That's who we are. What I want to do in the next probably 3-4 minutes is I want to talk a little bit about India in comparison to the world. Okay? I think it's time for you guys now to look beyond Chennai, look beyond Tamil Nadu, look beyond India, look at the world, look at where we are, and I want to ignite your minds with this thought. Let's do some macro talk first, and then I'll come down to India. And I have, I think, Mr. Krishnan's permission for that. You guys, a lot of you are, I know, doing economics, you're doing business administration, etc. So probably what I speak would resonate with you. GDP numbers spoken earlier. This year, 3.2% in the world. And for the emerging economies that we call 4.2, India will be 6.8, fastest growing in the world. And it's going to be fastest growing for the period ahead. Why? 3 points. Private consumption, rural demand, consumer confidence. In the next 2 years, we will be the third largest economy in the world. How? The rapid expansion of economic activity, and we will become the consumption capital of the world. This is very important for us to understand why air cargo will trigger and facilitate. We had exports from India at $2 trillion. We expect to have exports from India at $2 trillion by 2030. Okay? Out of which 1 trillion will be of exports with a CAGR of 11 to 12%. The compounded average growth rate will be 11 to 12%. Again, the fastest in the world. You already heard our Honorable Prime Minister talking about the $1 trillion economy, and $33 trillion is supposed to be there by 2047. While the world will grow somewhere around 2.6%, all right, over the next 20 years, Asia will grow over 5, India will grow close to 7. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your opportunity to thrive and conquer. That's the world in comparison to India. Very quickly on the Indian aviation market. We're the third largest aviation market in the world as of date, third largest. Sixth in the total air cargo market, third in domestic, and 12th in international freight. And thank you to Tulsi ma'am. Spearheading domestic movement India. This is the Iron Lady, and I had the greatest privilege of working with her over the last 10 years. To have a dedicated domestic wide-body freighter run successfully for 29 years, sorry, is nothing short of a remarkable feat. We've set ourselves a target when I was part of the ministry of having 10 million metric tons by 2030. Seems a little doubtful, being a pessimist, but I think we should get there with the support of a lot of changes. You all have seen what the India growth story looks like from the aviation perspective in terms of fleet acquisition. In a gap of 6 months, 2 airlines have ordered over 1,000 aircraft. Let that number sink in. 1,000 aircraft. In the history of the world, within a gap of 6 months, no country, no airline has ordered 1,000 aircrafts. That's the scope of which we are doing business with. And let me tell you something. No aircraft, commercial, has ever been manufactured that does not carry cargo. No aircraft. Every single commercial aircraft carries cargo. And that's probably the importance of why air cargo is growing leaps and bounds over the years. You're also going to see something very unique coming up in terms of consumption. Your tier 2, tier 3, probably even tier 4 cities in India are going to be the biggest consumer markets in the country. They are also going to be the biggest wealth creators, employment creators in the country. And that is going to also contribute to the growth. 2 words on the logistics sector. This is a $380 billion market. This is just India. And the logistics sector is growing by over 10 to 12%. We are a production economy. All right, We produce. There are other economies in the world that we often get compared to, but they are not production economies, they are transit economies. We are production. We produce for export, we produce for trade, we produce for manufacturing. So why air cargo? We are expensive. We are 4 to 6% more expensive than we are in shipping. All right? What's the advantage? Secure handling, speed, geographic flexibility, and that's our greatest strength. As Mr. Neeraj mentioned today, if you see the statistics of the safety record of our country for aviation, touch wood, it's probably the funnest in the world, and huge compliments to Mr. Neeraj and the entire team in DGCA for spearheading this initiative of keeping our sky safe. When you fly, and you're flying safe and you land safe, there's someone working very tirelessly behind supporting this activity. Lastly, and I started, and the reason why I asked you which is the biggest shopping mall in the world. Anybody here not done e-commerce? Anybody not born on the net? No. We've all purchased over the phone. We've all purchased on e-commerce website. Who do you think is moving that cargo? This is air cargo. This is what we do. So when you want your iPhone and you purchase for your iPhone today, are you prepared to wait, for 2 weeks to get your phone, or you want it in 10 minutes? That's quick commerce. That is instant commerce. That is instant gratification. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why air cargo is there for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Keiko, for the prompt and punctual thing. Two statements come to my mind, especially from Air India of Bala's time. Air India and Bobby Cooper created it, the legendary. Air India used to advertise, ship by air, it's cheaper. Total distribution cost concept long ago. Ship by air, it's cheaper. And the other one was from the Heathrow airport. They had the picture of Great Britain with a huge void in the middle. Without Heathrow, this is UK. Many of us remember that. Without Heathrow, this is UK. That's the power of this mode of transportation. Thank you for bringing it well out. Thank you very much. But we are not going to let you off. We are going to come back to you very soon. And before that, it's my pleasure to introduce Sri Balasubramaniam to make his opening remarks.
Good morning, friends. Normally, one redundant item is kept in front of me called a mic. What I speak, the chowkidar who is standing there can listen to and can write an exam and pass. But still, I will still use this. Keiko Gazdar always has a habit of making my life very easy. I don't like throwing a lot of numbers. Keiko loves it a lot. So he does all the number business and I talk about the subject. Thank you, Keiko. All of us know about the 5 elements of life. Panchabhuta, correct? You have heard it in Sanskrit as well. The land, the air, water, Agni, fire, and then space. In our industry, we have taken 2 elements, not just 1 element. In your industry, only 1 element, water. Our element is 2, Vayu as well as Akasha, both of them. And in this industry, there is never a dull moment. Since he talked about e-commerce and then everybody ordering through mobile phone and getting it in 10 minutes, if God comes in front of me and gives me a gadget and says, Bala, I am now giving you a chance to press the reset button. I am resetting your life. What would you like to be? I would say air cargo person again. That is the fun you get out of all the gray hairs you get as well. You will agree, Tulsi. That is the fun you get. Believe me, this is such a lively industry. Every negative point spoken by everybody is taken as an opportunity. It depends on how do you see the glass to be half or glass to be full. I was extremely fortunate to have been selected exactly 10 days ago by the ministry people to take advantage of two sentences read by Honorable Finance Minister Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman in her budget speech. This is the closest it has come to air cargo in several years in a budget speech. Believe me, in a budget speech, no word is redundant. Every word is carefully chosen. Every comma is carefully chosen. There it talks about support to air cargo warehousing in horticultural, perishable and pharmaceutical and other industries. The second sentence talks about completely relooking at and reviewing the customs regulations and the security regulations to catapult air cargo into higher level. So to get that done, Prime Minister Honorable Narendra Modi ji himself organized a meeting in which I was very privileged to be part of that, and we were asked to make a presentation of how to make it done. Policy makers will make statements. Who rolls the risk and then starts doing the job? You and I. We have not to do the job. So there, when we made the presentation, there were manufacturing stalwarts, Chief of Apple, Chief of Siemens, Chief of Mahindra, Chief of Tata Power, and only one logistics person from the whole of India, very fortunately under me. And I was given the task. Of course, I was given a lot of kerchiefs, because you sweat a lot, right? In front of that big one, you need to present everything. There were very key points that were made on air cargo side, which has gone well with the bigger higher-ups. That's all going to be implemented. People like Krishnan and Keku played a big role in giving me the inputs in that area as well, because that is what is going to take the whole thing. We talked about how, I think Prime Minister made a statement, all of you would have remembered that, quite a few years back. हवाई चप्पल पहनने वालों हवाई जांच में जाने के लिए. Do you all remember that? People with a Hawaii chapel, I would like to dream that they should be able to go in a plane. That came as a scheme called Udan. Have you heard of that name, Udan? Yes, Udan. Ude Desh ka Aam Nagrik, correct? That's the one. That means every common man also should be able to fly. It was not restricted to passenger. It was to cargo as well. Agri Udan was something which, again, Keku has worked quite a bit on that, and that was something to connect tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, and even tier 4 cities. So even though Vice Chancellor Dr. Mali spoke about 1% of cargo only is air cargo, 35% by value, absolutely correct numbers. Don't look at 1% as 1%, 99% opportunity. Again, half glass full or half glass empty. It depends on how you want to do. Another, the statistics I'll throw, only one statistic, Keiko, all other things you have done it. India's air cargo portion is only 2.9%. That means I'm sitting on a huge opportunity of 97.1% opportunity there. This sector can only grow. It can only go north. It cannot go behind. And everywhere, and drones is a word all of you have talked about. That is going to completely change the whole world. What is the maximum weight that a drone can carry to the extent that you have come across? Quiz time. Anybody? 60 kilograms. Fair number. More. It has reached up to 230. But you know what is in the drawing line? And I am very privileged to be part of that company to advise 100,000 kilogram drone. Probably Captain Hanuman was the first pilot. And next is Nautilus. Nautilus is a company in Los Angeles. They are working on it, 100,000. So, if still people sitting in front of me have any doubt whether air cargo has got any opportunity, please go wash your face, come back and sit. This industry has got, believe me, I would love to be an 18-year-old today. I know I'm only 2 years more than that, but still, I would love to be an 18-year-old today. This industry has got such an opportunity, great opportunity, whether in terms of regulatory impact, reforms or opportunities in terms how do you do. And again, nowadays, today is the day of app. You even create an app, you don't have to just create an industry. You are in the business. And I can keep on going about it. And then my friend Mr. J. Krishan will say, Bala, I gave you 300 seconds. You have already utilized 290 seconds. You better shut up and get out. Thank you.
Thank you, Bala. You remind me of a very, very famous last lines of a poem. Alfred Lord Tennyson, in his poem Ulysses, he concludes the poem, it says, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to heed. That's the spirit that we need to go forward. And as students, that's what you need to look at. You had the airline man, you had the policy man. A 100,000-ton cargo on a single vessel, single drone. Does it hang in the air? Does it need to come to the earth? It is there that I now request the infrastructure creator, Sri Rahul Nandi, to make his opening remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Bala sir, for motivating all of them. Mr. Gazdar has already given you the numbers, so I'll just share a small story of mine. I studied avionics engineering. I didn't get a job. So what else to do? I got an opportunity into cargo, airlines cargo. Every single day, I thought that I should quit now. And now with 31 years, I'm still continuing. Another 3 years to go, I don't seek a change anymore because I love this industry. Students, I was told that all of you are doing MBA logistics or BBA logistics. Am I correct? MBA. So you must have thought of something, before taking logistics as your specialization, or you just chose to because there were no other subjects to take. You must have thought of, right? I think you have taken a correct decision. I'll just give you a very small input that, like Mr. Gazdar said, that in another 2 years, India would become the third largest economy. But how? Now we are the fifth largest economy and catching up with, I think, Germany and Japan, right? Germany and Japan, because the first two are way ahead of us. So how do we do it? So the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister is that we have to enhance the manufacturing of Make in India products and also exporting them so that more foreign currency comes into our country. This is how we can become the third largest economy. A lot of emphasis is given to the electronic sector and Chennai being the manufacturing hub. Let me just share that a very premier electronic company who makes phones have already recruited around 40,000 people in their factories. So this is how the job opportunities are created. So I'm very sure that once you complete the course, and if you go meet the right people, go for the right trainings, I'm very sure you all won't be morosed because this industry is like an addiction. Like I told you, I could not leave it so far, and I'm very sure if you join, you will also have gray hairs like all of them. Thank you so much. I won't take much of your time.
Thanks, Rahul. Short and script. And the addictive nature of this nature was well brought out. Last but not the least, young in age, but advanced in knowledge. That's how I would request that. Chaitali, a homegrown product, an Indian forwarder, a successful forwarder, last but not the least, like Tulsi, she's breaking various glass ceilings to say, I'm up there and not where else. Chaitali, you're open.
Good morning, everyone. Vanakkam. The life of a logistician is exactly what I am at right now because I go last, so there is pressure to perform. And also, the speech that you have made, everybody else before you has already spoken, so you need to improvise. Welcome to the world of logistics, where no day, no hour is the same. When you think you figured yourself out, you figured the shipment out, boom, like when I came on the stage and something went wrong up there, that's exactly how a life of a logistician is. Hi, I'm Chaitali Mehta. I'm a child of the air cargo industry. So thank you very much, Krishna Uncle, because this is my way of giving back to the industry that has given me everything that I have. To start off with, I have to say thank you to the Indian Maritime University, Dr. Rangachari, Dr. Swaminathan, Mans, and of course Krishnan Uncle, who's been my teacher in a lot of ways. This is my first time addressing students in a maritime university. I'm also a little envious because I couldn't do my MBA, and luck behold, that's how I'm here in this industry here. I have to also say congratulations to all the women because I have never seen so many women students in my life wanting to get into this beautiful, crazy, wonderful world of ours. Also, whenever Keku is on the dais or anywhere in the audience, I like to say that if I do well, it is all credit to me, but if I do well, bad, it's his fault because he's also been my teacher. So the pressure is on him. Done. Miss Tulsi, what a fabulous, fabulous cover note and an introduction. Brilliant. I mean, there's a reason why you call the Iron Lady, and it's a privilege to hear you. Thank you very much. You know, everybody thinks that logistics is maritime transport, but no, there's something called as air cargo. And since everybody has already given the brief and spoken about it, I'm going to talk to you as to why is air cargo so important? I like to consider this industry as the backbone of the global economy because if it was not for us, and when I say us, I say every single spoke in the wheel that constitutes the stakeholders, the airlines, the shipping lines, the maritime, the air and all, if it was not for all of us, there would be no global trade, there is not going to be civilization, and there is not going to be life over here. COVID brought about this importance that we make a difference, but thank you. We are like the spinal cord. We do not realize the importance. We abuse it unless and until we get a back problem and we realize how important it is. So first of all, welcome for choosing the best industry to get into because there's no finer industry than the maritime transport, air cargo industry that we have, number one. Number two is that we change lives. Air cargo not only moves passengers from one place to another, it also helps move cargo from one place to another. We've already spoken about e-commerce, we've spoken about just-in-time deliveries, but imagine if you didn't have an airplane, we would still be traveling by trains, and there's nothing wrong with it. And we would still be traveling by road and by buses. But our lives have become easy because today we can go from one corner of India to another corner of the world within India in just 2 hours' time. The same way the cargo goes from one part of India to another part of India in about 2 hours' time, and anywhere in the world in less than about 24 hours. All of us who've gone abroad and gone shopping see Made in India tags. How many of us feel proud that we see that? And invariably, I know for me that something that I have chosen just turns out to be made in India. Adding on to what one of our panelists says, made in India. Last week I was told a very interesting thing. We should think of innovating in India, because if we innovate in India, we make it in India and then we export from India. And to do all of this, you need the support of the logistics industry. So if in 1911 the first official mail had not gone through, how far behind would we have been? It's absolutely crazy to think that today we can't live without air cargo. To me, I feel that air cargo has not been given its due importance, because people think it is expensive, it is complicated. It's not. It's a beautiful, beautiful industry where we do miracles every single day. Ask anybody who has to handle an ODC shipment or has to even handle a small piece of paper. We are the only industry where there is no distinguish. There is no discrimination done from a pin to a paper, to a helicopter, to an aircraft, because we happily move everything. And that's why we have e-commerce, you have special cargo, you have general cargo. And every cargo is given its due importance. I believe that the logistics industry gives respect to cargo just the way we give respect to human beings, because we can complain, we can talk, but that inanimate object cannot talk, so we speak on their behalf. And we make sure that they are given the right treatment and are given the respect that it deserves by shipping it with the due consideration that it requires. I'm not getting into statistics because that's not my thing. I hate math, so I'm not even getting into that. But I just have to say this, that if you have an opportunity to choose where you want to go after your MBAs, don't give up on the air cargo industry because you may not know much about it. Give it a thought, because we genuinely change lives every single minute, every single hour and every single day of the world. It's as complicated, as beautiful as the maritime industry is. And to conclude, I'm sure I'm done with my time. And to conclude, I have to say congratulations in advance. We look forward to seeing all of you at some point or the other, somewhere in the country, because like we have this 6 feet apart or 6 inches apart, the industry is very small. You are never going to know when your teacher is going to be your colleague, or when you are going to be standing on the dais and have the privilege of sitting with the people who have taught you or who have seen you grow, like I am privileged to do that. So thank you very much and welcome to the most wonderful industry that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaitali. You remind me of a line from Shakespeare. Oh, brave new world that had such wondrous people. Thank you, Chaitali. So you had the opening remarks. Now I have a rather difficult, I think, task now to probe them deeper on what they outlined. And can I choose you, Mr. Ghazi? Thank you. Yeah. Sometimes nice to read. You are the transporter, you came up with the statistics. But let me ask you a straight question. How important is it a resilient national air cargo tonnage? And where did we miss the bus?
Whenever you are in a panel, always with Mr. Krishnan, do your homework properly before you come. Never come to his panel discussion ever without preparing. Thank you. Okay, so I did my homework. And there's a reason for it. I'm very fortunate to have been on many panels, Mr. Krishnan. And if you are not right, as soon as the panel is over, he will call you, he will correct you, and he'll make sure you don't repeat that mistake again. 7 reasons about the national air cargo being resilient. First is economic growth. I dwelled about it earlier, but it's important to understand economic growth in connection or relation to what? You can't have economic growth of production without having an associate industry supporting it. And the supporting industry is the logistics and transport industry. Any economic growth will stop at the gate of the factory. That's it. You've done your job. After that, it's the job of we here to move it to the destination in the condition that it has been manufactured, in the time that it was allocated to be delivered. I gave you the example of buying a phone and getting it after 2 weeks. I don't see anybody raising their hand and say, I will wait for 2 weeks to get my phone. We are living in a world of new economic realities, okay? Today we have global sourcing, global manufacturing, global value additions. I know of products manufactured here in Chennai, goes to Thailand, has a value add, comes back to Chennai, and then it is sold. Imagine what value add the organization in Thailand is putting onto this product. That's economic growth, and that is where we are moving towards. Supply chain stability. How many of you heard this word supply chain? Excellent. Do you know what's the difference between supply chain and production? What you hear normally in the news nowadays, we have a supply chain problem. No, you don't have a supply chain problem. You have a production problem. If you had a supply chain problem, you would not have survived COVID. None of you would have survived COVID. If we had a supply chain problem, none of you would have got food in the lockdown. So, pardon me for being so clear, there is no supply chain problem. A supply chain problems come when we are not able to deliver, not when production is hampered. So let's keep that distinction very clear. This is a home to, I come from Chennai, so Chennai is also home for me. This is a city that had probably the earliest garment exports, the earliest leather exports. I don't know about skeletons, Tulsi ma'am, so forget about it. I'm fascinated by that. The air cargo industry should be indebted for bringing cargo from here first in the garment industry, for taking advantage of our cost, our labor, our raw materials, and most important, our policies. That has been a bit critical. 3 is global competitiveness, trade and tariff. The word tariffs is now in big news. April 2nd will be some more news, but let's not get bogged by it. Tariffs and trade barriers are not something new to our business. We no need to get worried about it. What we need to do is look at it, as Shaitali rightly mentioned, an opportunity of what we will do once those barriers and once that comes into place. 4 is disaster response and humanitarian aid. The example of COVID, as Tulsi ma'am had mentioned to you, is well known. I would really like to see vaccines being delivered by sea. Yeah, would you have liked your vaccines to be delivered after 45 days? Sorry, this is an IMU institute, so I shouldn't be talking about it, but yeah, that is something that needs to be done. And I want to take 1 minute to explain how the government worked during that time, because I was in the thick of things along with my colleague Rahul. We had informed the secretary about some policy changes to be made. The policy was implemented, not even made, policy was implemented within half a day. Never in the history of policy making was something we implemented because of the urgency of the COVID that hit us. And that is a tribute, I don't know if Mr. Neeraj is not here, but that is a tribute to the bureaucracy, to the government, at which speed it worked. 5 is industry and employment. I don't need to deliberate on that. 6, technology. And 7, most importantly about the air cargo industry, is we are a very big supporter, contributor to the national security and defense of the country. Higher up, when I say higher up, I mean in the mountains, in those places, speed is of essence for getting, whether it's arms ammunition, medical, tech, whatever. And the only way you can hit 16,000, 70,000 feet in the mountains today, ladies and gentlemen, is by air. And that's how critical we are. Did we miss the bus? I don't think we missed the bus as such. That's my opinion. But we have still a long way to go, and probably you here, ladies and gentlemen, probably would be the ones who are going to say whether I was right or wrong, but that was for another day.
Thanks, Keku, you've set the tone. Now I'm going to pose a question each to Bala, Rahul, and Chaitali based on the remarks of Keku. First to Bala. Indian Air Logistics 2030-2040. Can you read the crystal ball? And as an attachment, or maybe I'll save that question to you. And to you, Chaitali, looking at the growth, looking at the thing, in India, we are known only as an SME country. That's a mom and pop logistics service provider. To stay relevant as we go ahead. And to Rahul. As we grow leaps and bounds, which is not a dream, but it's a reality, what is the role of infrastructure? Are you going to complement or are you going to impede? So in the order of that, I would start with Bala, come to Rahul, and then you will have the final word, Chaitali, on the first thing. We have some more to go.
Thanks, Krishnan. My first prayer to God, I hope I don't get a telephone call after this panel meeting. Having said my prayers, now I am confident enough to start. On a serious note, by 2030, from 2030 to 2040, crystal ball gaze of where air cargo is. Let me again take Keku's help. Today we are on what, 3.37 million tons? Nearly, somewhere near that. And the ambition is to go to 10 million tons by 2030. I will again steal Keku's word. It is an aspirational target. He loves to say that. Aspirational target. It is indeed. On a serious note, it is an aspirational target. I don't see that to be a real achievable target. Having said that, 2030 to 2040, the acceleration that's going to happen is going to be much faster than what you see today. Definitely it's going to be much faster. Why? Again, I have been at the sharp end of the regulatory side, and I consider myself to be fortunate in that. There are archaic laws of customs regulations which were made in the country, not without reason. We were ruled by somebody who were 5,000 miles away from us. Which nation is that? Brits. They ruled us for hundreds of years. Lots of rules and regulations were made for those Brits to sit 5,000 miles away and still make a meaningful impact of getting what they wanted to achieve in India. We will not go to the judgment, it is right or wrong. Keep it aside. That is politics, we will keep it aside. So all the rules and regulations were made that way. If I can come to the operational level, I will first give Krishnan a job. Krishnan, do this job. Before I have finished the sentence, I will go to Keku and say, Keku, just check whether Krishnan is doing the job correctly. The moment I finish that sentence, I will go to Tulsiji and say, Tulsiji, just see whether Keku and Krishnan, are they collaborating inside and doing a problem, or are they really doing the job? So that was the way the rules were created. Never trust anybody and keep. Those types of things are completely changing. We are not into those archaic laws, and we are now getting into forward-looking laws. If those are there, believe me, I am talking to you today in 2025 March. There are lots of constraints in the legal framework of air cargo. Not just in India, at the global level. Because I'm again fortunate to work with the United Nations Economic Commission, as well, in terms of changing even those regulations at the global level. I'm working at a United Nations level. Plus, of course, in Indian level also, there are customs laws which are to be there. If those frameworks are changed, if security-related certain frameworks are changed, it has got to be. There is no choice. And if certain customs frameworks are changed, There has got to be. There is no choice. Because somebody talked about being second in the world and third in the world GDP. Those things will be pipe dreams if you do not change these laws. They have got to bite the bullet. And the laws have to be changed. I'm contributing my bit as much as possible through the ministry with all the people. First, mindset needs to be changed completely. I have a law, but why I had the law? Because at that time it made meaning. Today, does it make meaning? I should ask that brave question standing in front of the mirror. No gain saying, no, 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 my grandfather did the business this way, my father did it this way, I will do this way, my children will do this way. No, it doesn't work. So from that point of view, I have very positive take on 2030 to 2040 in terms of air cargo. Because that has to happen, it's not a choice.
If you talk about the infrastructure, it is not just the only thing, which matters. We were given a target of, I think, 10 million metric ton by 2030. Aspirational target, yeah. So, we are nowhere near that. It's already 25. We are something around 3.35 million metric ton. So, in the next 5 years, I don't think we are anywhere going to achieve, but we can at least try to reach near that. So, I am into the infrastructure development, where I come at the end. A lot of things has happened. The exporter, he has already manufactured the goods. The freight forwarder, they have already, planned the shipment, how to route it. The customs agent, they have already done the formalities with customs. After that, the shipment comes to us. And we as an infrastructure developer, we have to cater to the needs for faster processing. But here, I'll be talking a little fact. Like we said that we talk of mindset, like Mr. Bala said. A lot of schemes are coming out from customs. You are importing raw materials. The product is manufactured here in Chennai. It is exported from Chennai. So what they're calling is a mover scheme. But then here you don't pay any duty, but you have to file a bond. And but this bond thing starts from 12 o'clock in the afternoon. The shipment has come at midnight, but the shipment has to wait till the bond formalities are complete, which takes at least another 14 hours or so. So even if I develop infrastructure, if the mindset is not changed, it is extremely difficult, to promote exports out of India. I'm not just talking of Chennai. I've been in a couple of stations earlier. It is the same everywhere. So the mindset needs to be changed. The infrastructure will change on its own. Thank you.
The one vertical or a sub-industry that ties the infrastructure, the airline, the policy making is that of the logistician, which is a freight forwarder and a customs broker. The ethos of the logistics industry in India, to me, and it could be controversial, is the mom and pop, the SMEs and the MSMEs. The multinationals, the bigger companies, they give an edge, but what the mom and pops and the SMEs give is something very different. To put it in layman's language, we all shop, right? We've shopped for our parents, when our moms are not around. When you go to your local Kirana store, he may not know you, but he knows your mother, or he could know whoever is shopping. If she's not there and you go in the beginning of the month, he'll say, oh, but this is what is ordered in your house, so let me give that to you. But if you go to a supermarket or a departmental store or a big bazaar kind of thing, you are a stranger to them because they don't know you, they don't know your face. They won't even remember you after 2 minutes after you finish with your transaction. That is what a mom and pop and an SME is in the logistics industry to what a bigger company, an MSME, an MNC or a bigger company is. Because what we give is personalization. We could have only 4 clients, but you are available 24/7 in the real sense. You can make out from the tone of your customer that there is a problem, somewhere something has gone wrong, and you will be able to solve it to the best of your ability. The biggest problem, and I have nothing against big companies, I also aspire to be like one of those guys, but the question is, the crux is, do I want to give up the soul of what our company is to become that? Because somewhere down the line, you have to sacrifice on something which is what makes us unique. We are at the fag end of the food chain. If there is no exports, there is no imports, we have no existence. And how do we make our existence felt? Our existence is felt by making our clients feel that we are irreplaceable, and there is nobody better than us to help them solve their problems. So the thing is that while there are challenges, scaling up is a problem. Getting funding, changing of your mindset. Because when you are controlling everything and when you are growing, the biggest problem is how much are you going to give the power down the line. So your thing is a problem over there. Sorry, I can't remember the word right now, what you say, but that is a problem. Having said that, can we coexist? Yes, we can, is because everybody brings something unique to the table, and one client can be serviced by a mom and pop, can be serviced by an SME, and can be serviced by a big company. So yes, without us, I think the soul of the industry would be lost.
Coming back to Keku, we have heard customer request. But I find, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know how to look at it, the Indian customer is a silent customer. The Indian customer does not demand. And the Indian customer believes in karma. Whether it's good or bad, I don't have an opinion, but I'm pointing that to you. With this Indian silent customer, how do we actively engage him to develop a sharper focus and better planning? Because ultimately, a logistics is only a path, serving a customer. Whether I need a single track mud track or I need an autobahn, unless I have the inputs, I'm not going to develop it. Keku, how do you deal with the Indian silent customer, in all fairness?
Thank you. I think one of the things that we have to first ask ourselves is, who's the customer? Who actually is the customer? Okay. When I was in the government, the customers are forwarders, customs house agents, etc. To them, their customers are the exporters. To the exporters, their customers are buyers, and so on the chain. Let me put something in context here. Since a lot of you are in supply chain management, and this will resonate with you. Again, I like numbers and I like throwing numbers around, so I'm going to put some numbers across you just for your consumption. Just in India, okay, the supply chain market is $6,433 million in the next 4 years. Let that number just sink in. And that's a CAGR of 11%. That's what the supply chain market is going to be. And keep this in mind as I talk to you about why the customers are going to be important. By 2030, this is going to go to 20%. Just look at this opportunity that we're going to have. 1 in 20 companies worldwide suffered disruptions over $100 million purely because of supply chain issues. It's not a small amount and shows you the importance of what we're doing. Worldwide, revenue growth opportunity left on the table from disruptions is about $1.6 trillion. That's the kind of disruptions will have an impact if we are not perfect. And if you are the business of supporting, as Chaitali mentioned, your customers, 3.6% more business is attracted to you. Now go back to being a customer. Why a silent customer? We got to understand why. It's something to do with our nature. We're not one of those who blame, shout, scream, etc. We're pretty much a timid sort of group of people. But for the sake of better planning for the customer, let me give you a couple of points that I think are important for the customer. First of all, use data. And all of you here are on data metrics. You need to also create something called a very subtle feedback loops from your customers. You don't have to put on surveys and those kind of things. As Chaitali mentioned, you hear your customer's voice and you understand the desperation of what is required. You need to build a lot of trust. And trust comes with transparency, trust comes with communication. You need empathy. You need personalization. You need to leverage local influencers. We are full of them on the internet today. We are full of them on the social media today. An influencer today can make or break your product. It can make or break your business. We had no influencers in our time, but that's reality. Host interactive events. What we're doing today, we do as an outreach to a lot of our participants. And most importantly, what I think was a listening first approach. All right? If we don't listen, and I'm not talking of listening to what the customer wants, please listen to what the customer is not telling you. That is more important for you to address. So yeah, are we going to have more silent customers? I think it's changing, but if we have, or if we can implement this, we are on the right path.
Keiko, Simon and Garfunkel, people talking without listening. I don't say who is who. People talking without listening. Now I have to move to Rahul on this. As a public-run utility provider, a government service provider, how connected are you with the customer, and is there a scope to deepen your engagement with this customer?
For us, am I audible? Yeah. For Chaitali, maybe the exporter is the customer. For being an airline, maybe Chaitali is the customer. But for me, all of you are customers because I'm at the end and I'm at the receiving end. Anything goes wrong, so I have to, face the consequences. So here, it is very important for me to interact with all the stakeholders, whether it is the customs broker, whether it is airlines, because we work for the airline, and after which the entire shipment goes to the aircraft. So airline, customs broker, because they are processing the cargo, due to which the airlines can plan the shipments on a particular airline. So for me, interacting with everyone is very important. And it is not just like I am a public entity, so I can't, say that I do not have time or something, because every minute is important to ensure that we compete with the global standards and make the infrastructure in such a way where people can have the ease of doing business, finally. And one of our major area of concern is the customs clearance, which has improved drastically over the years. But of course, there are even more scopes now. And with all the new schemes, so I think we are on a very right track and hope to do better in the future. So interacting with the customers is a very, very prime factor for us being the infrastructure provider, because otherwise we won't be knowing what is the need, right? Thank you.
So the customer wants a thali, you give him a thali. If he wants a biryani, you will give him a biryani. Now coming to Bala, again the same topic of customer and infrastructure. The air freight station remains a stillborn child in India. Would the pediatrician Dr. Bala provide a diagnosis and a treatment path to bring it back to life?
Thank you for elevating me to be a medical doctor.
Whether qualified or not, I'm not sure.
Yes, I don't have a Nakli certificate. I have got an original certificate. I am a real doctor. In the area of treatment that you want your patient to go through, yes. On a serious note, that is a very harsh but very true statement you made, Krishnan. That air freight station, the concept now to bring my friends from maritime industry online, it is equivalent to CFS, container freight station, which prevails in the maritime industry, meaning all the containers are brought from the ship and it is allowed to be in a place where customs facilities are provided, where the consignees can come and clear their cargo after fulfilling all the formalities, paper formalities or hopefully electronic formalities, and they will be able to air freight. While CFS is well grown, very unfortunately, as Krishnan very rightly said, AFS has not grown. In this room, if there are any ground handlers or custodians, like my friend Rahul Nandi and Keiko used to wear that cap before, readily they would have got stones in their pocket and they will throw it at me for the statement I am going to make. Many ground handlers in India, very sadly, are very myopic, very narrow-minded. I charge something called a TSP, storage and processing charges. I will get 22 paise less. I will get 43 paise less. My CFO will look at the numbers. My boss will look at the numbers. India cannot improve if you are at that level. I do not mince words. I speak straight out of my heart. And I have taken a lot of stone throws, so not a problem. You can throw more stones at me. It's a ground reality. When you have airports built like Taj Mahal, like big one, you are basically wrong somewhere. What should be an air cargo terminal? Literally small. Why? I don't want air cargo to stay there. I want them to come this way. I want them to rush the other way to the aircraft. Export. Import. I want the aircraft to land. Literally I want them to go out. Right or wrong? Ideal. Not possible. Everybody understands. So what is the next best? The least amount of time I want the dwell time to be. That's the next. No. If I keep it for one more day, my TSP will go up by one more. No. That is where the country cannot improve, country will go down. An air cargo in air is dollars for you, rupees for you. An air cargo in a cargo terminal is a liability for you. Am I right or wrong? It is an absolute liability. What is the only Taraka mantra on which you run your industry? Speed. Then why is it sitting? Crude questions, but very straightforward questions. So your idea is to keep it least in the warehouse. So I don't want to create a big Salt Lake City stadium, a big Eden Garden stadium as an air cargo terminal, but a very small terminal, functional enough, practical enough to process my cargo during peak season, during off season, everything. In that, what is the very path-breaking type of things which I have spoken to? when I got the opportunity to present it to Prime Minister's office was, India has got a system. I think even in C, what I say is right. Correct me if I'm wrong. Export has to remain in a separate area. Import cargo has to remain in a separate area. Right or wrong? Absolutely old-fashioned thinking. If this is my export cargo, and if that is my import cargo, what is going to happen if I keep it next to it? Why close mine? 98% of the world operates that way. Are they compromising everyday customs? Are they compromising safety every day? All the aircrafts are falling down every day. Whole world is going through accident. Only India is safe. Very, 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 I'm sorry to say as an Indian, very, very contrived thinking, closed thinking. That mindset has to change. Why? Because I've got a season. Export season, mango season. Export cargo, brimming with cargo, 22 trucks standing for 2 hours waiting to deliver. Import cargo area, I can play football. That's not a season. Reverse, import cargo, there is a huge season, something like 1982 Asiad, where all the televisions came into India. Many of you will not know, your parents will know about that. So, and then at that time my import cargo is full and everybody is fighting for a space. Export cargo, I am playing table tennis or football. These things have got to change, and that's the type of papers I have submitted. Hopefully, some people are looking at it in a very positive manner. So we need to have those type of things. Then only these pediatrician doctors' recommendation will really be useful for the child. The child will come back to its health only when you do. These are a very hard-hitting, straightforward reality, ground reality. Somebody has got to really build a cat. So I offered myself, I would like to be the villain, I would like to be the bad man, no problem. So we are trying to go through on that. So those importance, air freight station is another one. Why should everybody come to a Minambakam airport or a sort of a Delhi airport or a Calcutta airport? Why should they come to that? Let them do the business in their area. Let things come here. Let customs and security do all the jobs in that place itself. And that is the same for regulated agent, non-shipper. You didn't ask me the question, but related to that. Every SME, we talked about MSME, will gain if you have regulated agent regime. Now on that to take, I think I would require Dr. Swaminathan to give me another 2 days to give the lecture. No, he will throw me out of Chennai itself, not just out of this campus. I'm joking. So unless you get those type of systems there, don't sit and talk about I'm second in GDP, I would like to be the best transshipment point in the world. Sorry, my dear child, you will not be able to. In whichever language you want me to say, I'll say that. Because it's ground reality. 5 plus 3 is 8, that's what I'm saying, so you don't have to fight with me. I'm not saying anything wrong. That's all. But that is the only way we will grow. Thank you for that question.
Bala, I thought you were a pediatric physician. Now I realize you're a pediatric surgeon.
Yes, exactly.
So I wish the surgery is good on the patient.
In the interest of patient, if some areas to be cut, it has to be cut. Good news, it's being slowly done. No. Sometimes, Rahul, shall I talk plainly? I cannot tell you, Rahul, you are doing a wrong job. I can't use that word. I should make you through logic.
Chaitali customers, you heard 3 viewpoints. As a service provider, as a logistic service provider, do you think you implant yourself with the customer? And much more important, when you render a free of charge service, or would you monetize the advisories that you give the customer so that he performs better, he makes better profit, and you walk with nothing on hand? How do you look at it? We all know customer is king, all that we have heard about it. But we also have to look at realities.
True. The reality is that the customer does not appreciate us and also would like to squeeze us out of every single penny. And the customer looks at their earnings and would not like to know or accept that we also need to make a livelihood. Having said that, FOC or monetizing your value. We have to do both. There are times when you have to do it free of cost for them, keeping in mind the larger picture and the situation which is there. And there are times when you have to stick to your guns and say, no, this is my charge because this is my value that I'm providing to you. You can take it, or very politely tell them to take a hike. All of us at some point or the other have taken this stand, either with new customers or with existing customers. If you do everything free of charge, they think that you are desperate and that they can take you for granted and your importance reduces, because we all know that we all would want things free. We don't really value things when they come free of cost. If you add a little bit of money to anything, whether it is buying something or giving advice or whatever it is, it automatically makes sense, because then you feel, oh my God, it's my money that is going wasted, so let's just do it, kind of a thing. I believe in order to have a successful business, you have to play. Sometimes you have to do an FOC and sometimes you have to do it. You can't just do any one of the two and say that, no, that's not how you would run a company. And you can't do a business like that. Number two is about implanting yourself. And I have to say, I had to do a lot of research on this, Krishna uncle. And I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning and figuring out what exactly was I supposed to say. So yes, he's a very hard taskmaster. And I have to say that for implant, not all customers may require one, but I think virtually we all are implants to our customers, because in order to run our own organizations, we also take help of people who are specialists. So if we have to look at it from a logistics service provider, then for us, an implant is going to be our GST consultant, is going to be a chartered accountant, could be our lawyer, could be a whole bunch of people who would be our partners. In turn, companies from startups to Fortune 500 companies who believe that their job is only to innovate, is to manufacture, is to produce, but they would like to leave the headache to the specialists, they would be happy to take on a company as an implant in them. Now, for some, you would ask, what is an implant? An implant comes in different forms. Could be somebody who's helping you with your is helping you with your processes on the shop floor. Somebody is helping you with your documentation, somebody who's helping you at your managerial level, and somebody who's doing it at an all thing level. So it depends whether you're doing a 3PL, you're doing a 4PL, or you're doing a 5PL. The important thing is that when a client wants to take you on as an implant, they see what kind of a specialist you are and what value addition are you giving to them and how stress-free you are making them. And in that particular way, you can get implanted. So I'll tell you, and that is an implant. So don't worry, technology and I are not friends. So anytime, anywhere in the world, something or the other has to go wrong with technology and me. So this is their way of reminding that they are not my friends. So don't worry about that. Having said that, I actually thought that an implant would be if you were going to be a 100+ crore manufacturing company, so you could have somebody on board who could help you do your documentation, your packaging, your transportation and things like that. But I was taught differently, or rather I learned differently, is that even a startup could have an implant, because if the founder of a startup thinks that he does not want to get into all of this rigmarole and he's ready to pay you for your charges, for your specialization, you can be on board from the day that the startup has set up. So an implant is good. It just shows how much trust a company has in you. But it is also a little dangerous because you need to be the best. And in that, you cannot have any errors. You have to be perfect in an imperfect world, and you need to be giving value addition to them. So yes, for that, I can give you an example. A company that is working as an implant for 3 factories figured out that they were putting 4 spokes or 4 spares into a wheel. And for this, if you give me the permission, I have to read from my phone because it's a little too technical. And they realized that the 4 spacers that they were putting in a tire, they were doing probably about 1,000 tires. But if they changed the way that they were putting the spacers, they could add probably an additional 90 tires in a day. So if they were counting it 365 days into the number of tires that they were doing, the amount of the production increased twofold, and they were able to give value addition to the company who had hired them. So that made a huge difference. Similarly, in terms of wastage, when they had inventory with them, they were losing about 15, 18 lakhs a year. But having an implant who looked into every minute detail, wanting to make a difference, because not just for the sake of saying in paper, but to do it, they brought down that wastage to 6 lakhs of rupees. So you can imagine, for us it may not be much in terms of the whole thing, but for a manufacturing company it makes a huge difference. So yes, an implant. I hope that answers your question.
It does. And reminds me again of a phrase from Shakespeare. You need to be a metal more attractive.
Yes.
I think that says it a very crisp. You need to be a metal more attractive. You're not aluminum, you're platinum.
Yes, that's true.
There is going to be time for the audience to interact. Before that, one final question to all of that. Before that, I have to go to our keynote speaker, Tulsi. You inspired us in this panel discussion. You heard all of us. You heard opinions. For this new generation to really take it up and enjoy it and to grow, and not just be an employee, but to be an entrepreneur in logistics, what would you, as a senior in this industry, look? What do you look from? How do you want them to tread the path? What is the path you look for them? Path ahead.
That's a really tough question. Okay, I agree with you, first of all. I always tell my team that you should never think of yourself as an employee, because you have all the resources of the organization. Think of yourself as an entrepreneur who has the resources of the organization to innovate and to further what the organization is doing, because then not only are you going to be making the organization profitable, but you're going to chart new ways in which the organization can go ahead. So I think, one, I completely agree with you. I've heard the discussions in terms of what do we project as the future, and I tend to be very positive, because even when I look at just air cargo, and if you look at the kind of aircraft that are on order, between 2 airlines today, you have about 1,000 aircraft. Now consider that even if you're looking at the belly hold of each aircraft of 2 tons, and we're talking about now single aisle, narrow body aircraft, multiply that into 1,000, and you know what kind of cargo capacity we are looking per day. Now we are looking at it in 2025. If you fill that cargo capacity, you're looking at 2 million tons per day. So I tend to be positive. In terms of the aspirations that we set ourselves, this 10 million tons, actually I would like to take everyone back to the draft of the Civil Aviation Policy, which was made, the draft was sent to us in 2014. And when it was sent to us, there was hardly anything on air cargo, nothing. They put a target for the passenger segment in terms of number of passengers. So we went back and we said, shouldn't we have a target for air cargo? Our suggestion was the 10 million tons. So perhaps it was aspirational. We are not going to achieve it. But I feel COVID in some ways was, perhaps a deterrent for us to achieve those targets. I think going forward, if we look at the various industries that utilize not just air cargo, but the maritime industry, the opportunities are there for us. But more importantly, this concept of a hub, I think, is something that the young generation can really, it's work in progress, but I think you guys, you're so technology savvy You know, I look at my grandniece today and I'm amazed. She knows more than I do, you know. And you have that cutting edge. How do you use technology to rethink this whole concept of logistics and what I said in my keynote address, to put us up there on the map and think of new ways, because really we have the capability. That's a given. You know, how do you leverage that capability to take us forward into a world? And I know capability is one thing, policy is another that has been a deterrent. But policy, I've learned in my experience, can always be changed. There were many things that were not there earlier. For instance, just the concept of the airline and the sovereignty of the airline. There was only a 49% share in terms of foreign direct investment. Today, and we worked a lot on that, it went to 73% for air cargo, and then it went to 100%. So I think bureaucracy is not completely mad. If they see an opportunity ahead of you, and if you put a policy in place, and if you present it well enough to show how it's going to benefit everyone, people sit up and listen. I think we formed, if you remember, the Air Cargo Logistics Group in 2011. Everything we set down there is actually work in progress for what is being implemented today. So I believe policy can change, and I really believe that the young generation that's up here can make that possible, and I wish you all the best.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm going to finish off this session with a rapid fire question to each one of you, the four panelists. Chris? Yes.
Thanks, Tulsi. I would like to add a sentence. It is from my personal life. And I said this even when I did the presentation to the Prime Minister's office. We are all, as Indians, a happy lot to follow. We feel very shy to take lead and lead the world. That pains me. Why I say that? In IATA board, in ICAO Council, even today, I will give you a good news and a bad news. Good news, I am the only Indian who has been there for 35 years in that industry, creating influence in the world regulation. Bad news, I am looking for a second Indian.
Aren't you Markandeya?
No, say, think is on a serious note, we cannot be just happy just being within our house. We can lead the world. Why should we take attitude? Somebody will write the rule somewhere. I will just simply take that manual. I will follow it. Why? You can write the manual. I can write the manual. Anybody. I would really be very happy if Indian children can take a global, leading, influencing role rather than being merely a follower. Thank you.
Thank you, Bala. There was one other question that I had in mind.
Sorry, can I? One line or
I'm very much ready.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm going to talk of my personal thing in just 2 minutes. No, not more than 2 minutes. The entrepreneurial journey has to start somewhere, and it typically starts from employment. If all of us consider ourselves to be the face of the company, every time we write an email, we pick up the call and we say, I am so-and-so from so-and-so company. You are the face of the company. Your designation does not define you. Your attitude defines you. If you feel that your blood zings when you get up in the morning and you want to make a change, because this industry is only for change makers, you don't have to be the boss to make a change. You could be a simple document clerk and still be making a change, not realizing how important work you are doing. So if you feel important about the work that you are doing, you feel that you can overextend yourself and do something else. And this is one industry where you have to learn every single day. The one thing that binds all of us here that is common, and the people sitting here in the front row, is the passion.
the passion to still work, the passion to make a difference, and it doesn't matter where we are, which part of the industry we are in. If you feel you can do that, then your journey has already started, and at somewhere you are automatically going to move on to an entrepreneurial thing. Some of us may be good bosses, some of us are good at running companies, some of us are good at following orders but still doing well. Believe your instincts, figure out who you want to be, and that's where you start with your journey. Thank you.
Rahulji, is a product-specific airport in India possible? Keiko, product-specific airport. Like when you have flowers, we talk Amsterdam. Because Tulsi made a remark, or the VC made a remark, every district has to identify an exportable product in the e-commerce.
It is possible. To some extent, we already have one, say Madurai, Trichy, from where just flowers go. I mean, not 100%, but close to that.
Okay, I'll change it. A product specialized airport possible. A product specialized. If you take pet transportation, Amsterdam stands out. They have an animal hospital inside the airport. A product specialized. What does it take to create one?
It is possible because in India we already have a couple of RCS airports. So these RCS airports are generally in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, right? Where the production, like whether it is a perishable, whether it is floriculture, so it can be targeted. I would say it is possible, but yes, we always talk of return on investment. So that is where we have to work. Whether we will get the return, what we invest or not. If government takes a stand, we can do it.
So you need the policy support for that.
Exactly, we do require.
My friend Keiko.
How many of you heard this word called jugaad? Nice. Let me give an example of how jugaad took place during COVID. It's very interesting. Probably you can use this as one of your case studies. There were many airports in India that does not even today have cargo terminals, right? A lot of them. So how did vaccines reach those airports? What did we do? Correct. We simply moved them through the passenger terminal. So to answer your previous question, Professor, you got to think creatively, and that's what is in our business. Three things will not change. Not now, not in the next 100 years. Make it now, make it fast, and make it cheap. It will not change. That's who we are, that's our ethos, and that's what we love to do. So yes, vaccines was the product. Yes. Passenger terminals was the answer. Yes, there are airports in the country that can be developed, but you need a two-way traffic. Let me give a little basic difference between passengers and cargo. Passengers travel two ways. You go and come back, all right? Cargo travels one way. Unless there's a value add, cargo doesn't come back. It's one-way traffic. You got to sell twice as much. You got to be smart twice as much to do the same thing.
The Chennai auto wala does that. Bala.
What is the difference between passenger and cargo? Keiko asked the question. Passengers can wait, cargo cannot. This is exactly the statement I spoke in the United Nations ICAO meeting during COVID when I was asked to be part of the international committee. And that statement really went off very well because many of the regulations were looked at it from that point of view. To enable cargo, but to make passengers still wait because passengers didn't want to travel. They were afraid. But cargo cannot. As I think Keiko only said, you and I would not have run our lives during COVID if air cargo had stopped, sea cargo had stopped. No way. Not just medicines alone, not just vaccines alone, even day to day. You know, many times policemen stopped people transporting mobiles and batteries. Least understanding, if you are confined within your doors, what is the only means of communication? Mobile. If I don't allow you to charge your mobile, if I don't supply you mobile or batteries, how will you read your life? People didn't think. Then later on, of course, it dawned upon them and said, so that is the key of cargo to the whole world. I repeat, passengers can wait, cargo cannot. It has got to move all the time there. That is the key.
Thanks, Bala.
One more difference. Cargo doesn't complain.
Chaital, you handled a lot of commodities. How would you react? A product specific or a product specialized airport? Are you prepared for it as a service provider?
Yes, of course. We are prepared for it, and I think it has to be, you said product specific or product specialized. I would say it. I think we are specialists anyway, Krishnanka. Generalist for some, but in some products you anyway become a specialist. I think it should be a product specialist airport, but I will agree with Kiku and add on that if an airline is going to want to take the export cargo, if they don't have imports into that airport, they may just not bring the aircraft. So then that becomes another set of problems for that. But a specialist.
No, let me interject.
Yes.
Look at the port of Rotterdam.
Yes.
Banana.
Yes.
From the Caribbean. It's a one-way traffic.
But sorry to Port of Rotterdam is also a transshipment port, so there are other ways. So if we are looking at a specialist airport, then yes, we need to have value-added services for the airport.
I'm looking at specifically pharma, because that's where the growth is going to come from.
So for pharma, then we have to look at the imports of raw material, the APIs, everything coming in. Then it's a specialist product. Then it's a specialist airport.
Is it possible in India?
It is. Absolutely it is.
Now, Tulsi, as a veteran.
You know, Krishnan, actually, I think we already have those, at least in a few places. When I was working in, Cochin was part of my sales territory in the early 1980s. And at that time, the airport used to export about 72 tons of cargo. Today, I believe it's close to, I think, exports is close to about 10 or 15,000 tons. Now, a very interesting thing happened when I went there in the early 2000s. And at that time, you had the director of HAL, who was also the chairman of the airport. And he told me a very interesting story. For just one product, he got all the banana farmers together and he showed me the conference room. And he said, can we aggregate your products for exports? Today, that is a specialist perishable airport. And look at the kind of tonnage. And they built the airport around that. When you look at, you know, the weights that they have, the palletization, it's specialized towards the carriage of perishables. Again, about 10 years ago, Lufthansa wanted to create a farmer-specific segment at Hyderabad airport. So we had a meeting because Hyderabad, you know, is where you have some of the largest throughput of farmer, basically for international exports. That was on the cards as well. So I believe that it's very doable. And this whole concept of one state, one product would provide the necessary stimulus. And going back to 1996, when we first had our aircraft operations, we wanted to go into Guwahati because our aircraft was based in Calcutta. So we had a meeting, we had a CII meeting, and what was the important product from the Northeast? I think some of you don't know that the best quality of ginger is really grown in the Northeast. And it was a product that was seen viable for exports. But it was grown by small farmers. There was no one to aggregate that product. Now we said, can we do something about it? The second item was pineapples. Pineapple has a short harvesting time of just 45 days. So the price at the beginning of the harvest and the price at the end, there was such a huge difference that they said, can we get cold storage facilities? And we did try and do that. We said, can we have the sea containers? And this is where I think maritime and air cargo can work together. Could we have the refrigerated sea containers placed at the airports so that the harvest time and post-harvest technology to facilitate the export of high-quality pineapples from the Northeast and ginger into the rest of the world? So it's a great concept. It's up to us, I think, to make that viable and possible.
But if I can add, we have specialist ports in India where we are doing certain commodities or
Coal,
certain
we are India
products.
coal.
Yes, and it's understood that if you're bringing this particular product, you're going to handle it at this particular port. The vessels are coming in with that kind of cargo. So yes, and we do, adding on to what Ms. Tulsi said, we do already have some of these airports here where we are doing specialists. Maybe not just that one product, but it is known for that particular thing. Like, you know, Guntur chilies go typically from Hyderabad, and now if Vizag comes up with an airport, it will go from Vizag. Yeah.
Thank you, we are really stretched for time. Now, the floor is open to the participant for 3 or 4 questions. Anybody wishes to react or ask a question? Identify yourself and then.
Hello. Yes, sir. My name is Gagan. So my question is about. Bala sir said, what is the point of being air cargo terminals or maintaining huge infrastructure? So the logistics is all about speed. So Taraka Mantra is about speed. What if a cyclone hits a air cargo terminal? So all the air cargo terminals are mostly located near the coastal lines. So what is the...
The answer is no, not really. Okay, it is not. And another thing, being resilient in an industry is one thing. Working in life as if there is a war tomorrow morning is another thing. Risk management is different. Risk avoidance is not possible. Just because one day I may have a requirement, I can't build 3 Taj Mahals and keep it as my air cargo terminal and take all the liability there. That's not possible. I need to have the mindset and work as if from the time the truck comes of an export cargo into my terminal, I shall spend the least time, I shall have the least processes before it hits the aircraft, subject to customs, security, everything. As I said, similarly, same attitude. From the time the aircraft offloads the cargo, I bring it into my terminal. Now, to pick up the cargo is not in my hand. It is in consignee's hand. I know that pretty well. Maximum, I can dissuade him by trying to put a very high demurrage charges. If you don't take within 1 day, then you will have to pay a lot. These are things I can do. I can't do more than that. I can't push his hand or her hands and come and take it. But the concept is to make it the fastest. That is why I use the word, a kilogram of cargo in a terminal is a liability. A kilogram of cargo which is moving is an asset.
Yes, sir. I mean, one more question, sir.
To me?
Yeah, for panel.
Okay.
So what are the new emerging trends we should prepare for? Example, global leaders are emphasizing this sustainable logistics and green logistics and incorporating blockchain into digital supply chain. Yeah, likewise, which...
I gave 2 specific suggestions which are working in many parts of the world. India has still not implemented, which are workable, and you don't have to go to sustainable level and all. Allow cargo screening of export cargo to be done not just at cargo terminal but at different places. If you want many MSMEs to come and use, you call it an air freight station. He asked a question on that. If you want some big, medium or big companies to do it in their own position, allow them to do it. You are a Samsung, you are Apple, you are Intel. I'm just giving some examples. Then let all those processes happen in the factory itself, and then let it come in a sterile fashion, in a bonded fashion to the airport, and let airport only receive it at the cargo terminal and be a conduit pipe. Australians use the word bypass for that. We use it only for heart surgery. They use it for cargo transshipment. So the bypass container goes there and it goes. So it's quite doable. It is possible today, not tomorrow, today. It is possible there. You save a lot of processes, you save a lot of cost. What is the other thing which government keeps talking about? Indian logistics, we didn't bring to that point. Indian logistics costs are always high, correct? Everybody keeps talking about it. How do you bring the logistics cost down? By reforms in these areas, practices there. That's the way. That is another big one. Customs cost recovery is another one that they won't understand. Exactly. And that also has been taken to PMO's office for information. Done. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hello. So, good afternoon, sir and ma'am. I am Aniket Aryan. So, my question is, what is the key area in logistics where growth opportunities are expected in next decade?
You're looking at from a career perspective?
Yes, sir, career perspective.
Career perspective. Okay. Your generation, and I'm old now, your generation is tech generation, right?
Yes, sir.
Incorporate AI and ML in everything that you're doing. Okay? Incorporate data analytics in everything that you're doing. Okay? In the next 5, 10, 20 years, okay, sanitized data, and emphasizing the word sanitized, sanitized data is going to make you a winner or not. Processes will remain. There's not going to be much of change as we go forward. All right? But what will differentiate to you, and when I say you, I mean everybody here, is what value add are you going to bring to the table? How are you different from the neighbor sitting next to you? Right? So incorporate tech, incorporate data in what you are doing, and as much as possible. That is going to be probably a key differentiator. Because what your customer is going to ask you is not to transport. He's going to ask you, or she's going to ask you, give me a solution. Let me give you an example. Today, customers are asking, not send my cargo by air or road or sea or rail. That's not the question. The question they ask is, I want my cargo from Chennai to reach Trichy in the next 7 hours. Take it by bullock cart, take it by plane, take it by rocket, I don't care. In 7 hours, it should reach Trichy. In 3 hours, it should reach Bangalore. In 5 hours, it should reach Delhi. It is your job to find a solution. And whether the solution is multimodal or not, that's up to you.
We have absolutely run out of time. Unless, yes ma'am, I will not stop you. You will be the very last.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I won't take much time. I have only 2 short questions. So I think we haven't talked much about environment and sustainability in the whole discussion. And we know that air transport is much more carbon intensive per ton mile than maritime transportation. So what all stands between the goal of ITA of flying net zero by 2050, and how will SAF become cost competitive with traditional jet fuel? My second question is that with global trade shifts like China plus one strategy, how can India position itself as preferred cargo hub in India? And how are we utilizing the ongoing geopolitical tension in our favor?
I'll try to quickly answer all the both the questions. Number one, you are talking about environment was the second question, right? Sustainable transportation. Okay, right. Yes, air as a mode of transport consumes, it's got more carbon footprint than others. Everybody knows it. 2050 target you talked about, I'll park it for a moment. Sustainable aviation fuel is the way we are going. That's a direct answer to your question. International Civil Aviation Organization, which is a United Nations body, equal to your International Maritime Organization, have got a clear CORSIA plan. carbon offsetting reduction in aviation, CORSIA. That is a mnemonic which is used there. So by that, this 2050 objective is a bit harsh, because unless the industry is able to support that, it will not be possible. But do you know that the sustainable aviation fuel, which I talked about as one of the possibility, do you know what is the raw material? Anybody? Anybody? What is the raw material of sustainable aviation fuel? Ethanol? Give me the most easy answer, which is close to you and me every day. Used cooking oil. All the used cooking oil from all the restaurants, if you can collect it and convert it, that is going to be the cheapest, most easiest way. That is what the whole industry is working on. Today, it is availability of SAF, if you take globally, is 1.3%. Nowhere nearby. So, but it's going to be a huge, huge change there, basically. What was the second question you talked about?
It was about how are we using.
First question he wants to answer.
I just want to give you some context. Okay, if you travel, if a passenger travels, okay, by plane, and let's say there are 180 passengers flying Chennai, Bangalore, and if there's a car with one passenger going Chennai, Bangalore, who has more emissions?
Car.
Why?
It's using much more fuel. It's
Exactly. So there is a wrong perception. Okay, we need to set this in context. Emissions are also based on the mode of transport and on how many passengers are in that mode of transport. It is now very clear that aviation is not the biggest polluter in a larger context.
But in transportation sector, it is.
It appears to be so. But if you look at numbers, if you look at what we are going through as SAF production, etc., that number is gradually dropping. Yes, fact. No commercial plane till today flies on anything other than fossil fuel or SAF. Okay? No commercial plane. Everything today is still on fossil fuel. Is it going to be the same in 20 years from now? No. Will electricity completely replace aircraft fuel? No. Will nuclear energy come on planes? No. But at least we have commenced the path to move towards being net zero by 2050. And I think somewhere we should be able to get it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So one last.
I think just to add some context to what was being said, we were involved as an airline for having SAF, and we've been lobbying for it. Because one of the dangers is that at some stage, when you have the international regulations and you have international airlines coming into India, and we don't have sufficient aviation fuel for them, then we are going to be penalized and people will start looking at other destinations. So we did engage with Oil India, and at that time they were looking at a 10% blending with ethanol. Now, what is the advantage that India has? It has huge overproduction of sugarcane, and ethanol is, a byproduct of that. So they were looking initially at a 10%. That would then, you're permitted up to 50%. Now, it still hasn't gone on stream at that time. They said in 2 years' time, we would probably be able to generate about 10 tons per day, which is really insufficient. But I think they're working on it. So that is one in terms of, sustainable aviation fuel, and there is work being done. There's a report that's gone to the government, and we are working on it because we stand in real danger of having airlines divert to other airports, and we can't afford that. So that is one to answer your question. And the other one is when you talked about China and when you talked about India's position, I think we are in a better position than we were even 5 years ago. Because what we lacked was an anchor airline. What is an anchor airline? An anchor airline is an airline that really has, you can say, the skin in the game. And I'm just comparing it to someone like Emirates. If you looked at the Emirates network 5 years ago, it looked like Emirates was really the hub for India. But what is happening today is most of our shipments and even our people are transiting Dubai to go to other destinations. If you have an anchor airline that can operate with a larger network on a point-to-point operation, you would be able to be a viable hub. And what do we have today? We have Indigo that's moving really fast in that direction. If the passengers go, cargo will follow. So once we have that established in a few years' time, I think we would be a force to reckon with. So I'm positive on that. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Tulsi. Well answered. I'm absolutely out of time.
Sir, one last question.
No, sir.
One last question, please. So actually the consumption and buying power of Indians increased by 16% in the last 10 years. But the use of air cargo by Indians only increased by 27% during the same period. Nowadays, Indians have access to a wide range of products and people are aware that air cargo is a much faster mode of transportation and an efficient method for moving goods. While the Indian air cargo industry is growing rapidly, why are we seeing such a significant difference in growth accessibility for air cargo among Indian traders?
Let me take that very quickly, sir. Do you know what the road infrastructure in India is happening? Anything below 500 kilometers, 750, moves by road. The average speed of a truck in India has increased from 30 kilometers to 55 kilometers. So that's primary reason why, and road gives you door-to-door connectivity. Air cargo gives you an airport-to-airport connectivity. That is why you see the courier company, the domestic couriers, look at their growth, it is phenomenal. And domestic couriers are truly multimodal. They use every form for an efficient, as Bala said, I want it the next 3 hours. Ketu said that next 3 hours, it doesn't matter which way it moves. So, India's advantage in the road also happens. But with, as what Tulsi said, with e-commerce and quick commerce and products getting beyond this geographical limitations, the growth in air cargo in future is a given. It cannot be taken away. We are absolutely short of time. Professor, I'm 3 minutes behind schedule. Air cargo was always prompt and on time. I would say, sir, I will finish the whole thing. We had a wonderful panel. Let's have a good hand for them and for yourself. I finish this panel session with a saying in Sanskrit. What we have attempted is Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. May the light dawn and shine. Thank you very much.
That was truly an enlightening and lively session. Now, I request Dr. Swaminathan, Head, School of Maritime Management, to kindly summarize the key takeaways from today's session. Sir, please.
It's a very good afternoon. In fact, we had a discussion, myself and Dr. Lekha, the dynamics of the maritime sector and air sector is almost same. The one which I have understood. The purpose for which we have initiated the title Air Cargo Management, though it is a maritime university, we have succeeded, I would say. And Mr. Jairam Krishnan, the moderator, wonderfully brought out together the thoughts of all the panelists, excellent panelists, and kept the discussion engaging, informative, and thoroughly enjoyable, I would say. Balanced the perspective of our diverse panelists. It's a cross-section of panelists, one from the infrastructure sector, one from the civil aviation, the sense airline sector, another one from the airport sector, another one from the logistics sector. This is the idea brought out by Mr. Krishnan sir. Really, we are grateful to you, sir. As we conclude this insightful panel discussion on optimizing the global supply chain and the critical role of air cargo transportation in modern logistics, it is evident one thing what I have observed, the efficiency, speed and adaptability are the defining factors of today's supply chain ecosystem, I would say. The discussion has highlighted how air cargo is indispensable in ensuring time-sensitive goods reach their destination, supporting industries such as e-commerce, pharmaceutical, and high-value manufacturing. Thanks to modern technology like digital tracking, artificial intelligence, air freight is becoming more efficient, reliable when disruption occurs quite often. For those who poise to become the business leaders of tomorrow, for the student community, the grasping these dynamics from the discussion is very essential. All the SMM students, irrespective of the campus you belong to, you are gearing up to dive into the fast-paced global economy where mastering supply chain optimization can set you apart. Whether making savvy decisions, planning logistics, or managing supply chain with data-driven approach. Your ability to embrace and adapt to these innovations will define your success, I would say. I would like to consider how logistics, technology, and strategy interact. The information, what I gathered from the discussion is how logistics, technology, and strategy intersect. Stay current. I request all of you to stay current and industry trends. Think outside the conventional supply chain framework, adapt approaches fueled by innovation. I want to express my deep appreciation to all the panelists for their invaluable insights and all of you for their active engagement. Let us carry these lessons forward and work together to create more agile, efficient, and sustainable global supply chain. I'll end up my point with Mrs. Tulsi Madam inspirational speech mentioning about impossible is not a fact, but it is only an opinion. I ended up with my point of discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for encapsulating today's discussion so effectively. With this, we come to the end of a very enlightening discussion. May I now call upon Rishabh to propose the vote of thanks and conclude the session of the National Symposium. Rishabh, please.
Samudra Gyanam Gyan Samudram. Sea is knowledge and knowledge is a sea. On behalf of the entire SMM and student fraternity, I would like to thank all the dignitaries and their valuable insight on the topic of optimizing global supply chain through their experience from the industry. A very valuable insight was shared on the challenges and opportunities that comes along, how having an innovative mind and the willingness to change will pave the path of development, the need for speed and flexibility that will foster this industry. This industry has the potential to give everything that we want from life, but the question is, do we have it in us as the future of this nation? And we will prove that, yes, we have it in us. This was an amazing conclave, I must say, and yes, just like you all, even my heart is saying, ye dil mange more. Ladies and gentlemen, this sea of knowledge is immense, but now it's time for a quick lunch break, and we will gather back again at 2. We request the participant to gather at MBA ITLM first year at 2 p.m. sharply for the business quiz. We will take a plunge back in the sea of knowledge to witness the business quiz. And I would request all the participants to exit from your right side and collect food using your coupons. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.